All right, hold on. Now, can I appear? There I
Hey.
am. Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome. I hope you can hear us at a reasonable volume.
Got a new computer, so this is a new setup, so our settings may be malleable.
Yeah, so for people who've been here when we used to stream, however long ago that was, when we streamed regularly, the whole layout is different. What are these flowers? Who knows? They're the first thing I found very quickly to set up as a background image. So this is all new. If anything is weird and broken, if we spend a little bit more time figuring out the sound or things like that, I apologize. It's the first time we've streamed in a long time and the first time we've streamed on this whole new setup, using a different program as well. I'm on OBS instead of Streamlabs and all this various stuff. Yeah, it's got a good 70s wallpaper vibe. I think it'll fit.
Appropriate. And you know why we haven't been streaming lately? Because we've been so busy.
We've been busy.
Making a game.
Yeah, so we were working on Rise of the Golden Idol. Welcome, everybody. Welcome a lot of new people. Hello,
Yeah,
hello,
it's really
hello.
cool to see first-timers
I'm
here.
assuming there's also some new people who don't know who we are, I guess, outside of Rise of the Golden Idol. If they come here from the Rise of the Golden Idol Discord, you won't know who we are. Hello, we're just some random people to you. But to people who do know us, they're surprised that we made a game, maybe. I mean, look, not surprised. We announced it on our shows a few times. But welcome everybody. We'll start the game in a second. The plan for this is...
Hello from Bangladesh.
Oh,
Nice.
hello everybody. Look at all these new great people. Well, you say the audio is great now. Wait till the game starts. We have to be like, oh my god, it's so loud. So much Golden Idol.
It
in our
will
ears."
happen.
But we'll find out. So our plan for today is to talk a little bit about...
Liverpool. Wow, you are up late.
I saw someone already on the Discord for Golden Idol be like, I didn't know you guys were involved. I love you on Lateral. So there you go. But yeah, we'll play some of the game very slow. Well, probably slow. I say slowly. We'll just be pointing and prodding and talking about some behind the scenes stuff and writing it.
Anyone
and
who has tried to
designing.
listen to us give an interview will know that we can talk about one tiny thing for a very long time. So
Yeah.
this is why we have no idea how much of the game we're going to get through today. It might be one scene. It might be the first half of the game. It probably won't be the first half of the game. Don't worry if you're not that far into it.
Solve this murder and Lateral. You don't listen to the escape room. No, that's fine. Solve this murder. We'll be coming back. There's been a big...
Yeah, now that we got more time, we can get all of
Yeah.
our things done.
It has been a lot harder to write murder mysteries while we were also writing more murder mysteries for somebody else. So it's been, Solve This Murder's a little bit behind. Although I've got a new one I started writing the other day, which I like, and I had to sort of break the concept of it until it made sense, and I got there the other day. So
Yay.
now I got to do
I
details for a
look
long
forward
time.
to it.
We will not spoil late game stuff. We will be very careful of only spoiling stuff as we get to it in the game by kind of needing to solve.
Oh
it,
yeah,
get to
we're
the
not
next
going to
scenario.
we're not going to talk about the end game when we're looking at the first case or
So
anything
that,
like that.
if you're following along, you can safely follow along up to the point that you are up to, and then you can duck out if you don't want any more spoilers. We will not spoil the future while we're in early cases. So feel free that do not be like, oh, what if when Roy appears, they'll be like, here's all these crazy late game. Maybe there aren't any. Maybe there are. You'll never know until you get to that point. What I'm saying is we'll only spoil things in real time. But yeah, so we're going to chat about the game, about writing it. It's been fun. Oh, thank you so much. Welcome. Hey, what? That's the wrong thing.
What?
What is this? What is this? That's not Nancy. I set up this whole guy.
Technology.
What's happening there?
Yes, this is a good point. Also making a policy that we shouldn't have overt spoilers in the chat or even covert spoilers in the chat. All right, we'll do a little bit of teching. And yeah, it's a good idea. If anyone puts a spoiler in chat, quickly spam chat so that it's invisible. That's my solution at the moment because I don't know how to do anything better. So I'll just rely on teamwork for that.
Now, I'm retesting something here, everybody. So, let's try this. Now, that's what should happen.
Too many questions?
And you can see how loud our desktop audio is. I might turn that down a touch. Now, that's what should have happened.
How did it do the echoey thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know how to make it not do the echoey thing when we test it.
Well, that might help for the future, and if not...
There's a Semper Ubi Sububi somewhere.
Should be if you donate bits. Let me test that as well. Again, I don't know... yeah, oh my gosh. Full rise. Does this... That's the Semper Ubi Sububi for bits. But we'll find out. Well, to see if it works, I don't know why it didn't work the first time. If it doesn't work, we're not going to worry about it. That's not your problem to deal with. That's our problem. But yeah, so we'll get started with the game. Before we get started with the game, do you want to talk a little bit about, like, getting onto the game? Like, the preamble of, like, how we ended up doing the design work for it? It's very quick, probably.
Oh yeah, you can start opening the game and messing around with it, and I can have that conversation.
Yeah, we'll do it while the game's playing in the background.
It's literally, not even a year and a half ago, I would say, we had a friend just contact us and say, hey, have you heard of this game, Case of the Golden Idol? It's a really cool puzzle game. I think it's right up your alley if you don't know it, but the creators have put out an alert saying they're making the sequel and they're looking to expand their team of writers. And we said, nope, never heard of it. Not true.
No, we had heard.
No.
What we said is everybody we know
it.
has told us to play that game, and we have not yet played it. And so we then thought that's a good idea to play it, because if we like it, it would be good to apply to be writers for the sequel. And so we played it in like we just sat down and played it the whole way through, and absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the first game. And we need to... Then we were just like, oh, now our attitude has changed. Now we need to get this job.
And we looked at what they had put out there, and they were looking for people who could write, who were into video games, who were into murder mysteries, and who were into puzzles, and could put all of those things together. And we went, well, I think they're asking for us. Is this a real thing, or are they specifically trying to wheedle their way into just looking for us? Because all of those are us.
Yeah, we literally went like, here's our catalog of 100 or so escape rooms. Here's all the murder mysteries designed. Here's how you can see them as playable game experiences. Check it all out. Isn't that interesting? And it worked quite well. We ended up having an interview. We chatted. We just talked. One of the things that worked really well was we were doing the interview, I think, before the second DLC had come out. And during the interview, we were talking with the creators of the original game and also the main writers for this, Andres and Ernest. And they said, what would you do in like to add stuff to the Golden Idol format?
Do you already have any inspirational ideas for things that could work in this format?
And we listed pretty much like everything that they did in the second DLC. We were like, I wonder if you could play with this. I wonder if you could do this.
Like the time mechanics and things like that.
And they were just like, oh, yep, that's actually about to come out. That's about... And so I think that was a good proof during the interview that we were on the same page and how we were thinking about it. And it was good for us because it was like, oh, cool. All the stuff we think you would do next, they had done next. So that was quite fun. And then we ended up on this on the project. It all went through, and there were five new writers hired to add on to their existing 2. Right, so it ended up as going from a team of 2 for the first game in terms of writing to a team of 7, and that was us as 2 of them. 2 other people who have a murder mystery solving podcast, the only other podcast like Solve This Murder. Which is Aurelius Whitlock's Murder Museum, Nathan and Marcus from that podcast. So clearly that style of we make playable murder mystery games went well. And also Will, who is an indie game designer, and he's fantastic. We played when here's a demo of a murder mystery sort of point and click game that he was working on that we played really early on. I just loved it. Will is very good at his design and what he's working on. So it was a really fun team. Although, for people who might be eagle-eared and have listened to some of these podcasts before, that was a couple of Americans, a couple of Australians, a UK guy, and 2 Latvians. Meetings were tough throughout the entire process of this. A lot of 1 a.m. meetings on our end.
It's been brutal for everybody.
But it was really nice. So here's the game.
On the plus side, there are some convenient things, like you get to finish your workday and saying, hey, there's a problem with this. Can someone help with it? You go to sleep, you wake up, and someone else has fixed it.
Yeah. Or we would do the same for other people. They'd be like, can we get this done today? And I'd be like, look, by the time you wake up tomorrow, it'll be done, and it'll be in your email. And then the Europeans would go to bed, and then we'd work, and it was great. The music is fantastic. So I wasn't part of any of the music stuff for the base game. It really was happening in the background while we were working on scenarios and puzzles and writing and all this sort of stuff. The music was just sort of happening. I had no idea. So I haven't really listened to a huge amount of it until like we were writing hints later on.
Yeah, and even then, I haven't put much focus in it, which is wild because I know these music designers are really good at their job. But yeah, any time that I've been playing, it's been while doing other stuff at the same time and having to focus on other things.
But I will say, so for people who've looked at the announcements, this is a thing that has been announced, so I'm not spoiling this. There are going to be 4 DLC stories for this game. And we were primarily the writers. We were sort of like the lead story writers for the first of the DLC. And as part of that, I also worked with Paul, who did the music for this, doing music for the first DLC, and it was great. He's really good. He's great at like taking on what your thoughts are, even if you can't express them quite well. Like I've done a bit of music for people who've listened to Escape This Podcast and to Solve This Murder. I do the music for those, so I've done a bit of music creation. But it was nice seeing someone who's actually very good at it do it and be smooth and listen to my nonsense. But yes. Should we jump in and just start sort of using each of these
Let's do it.
scenarios to prod our own questions? I don't know if I have any saved data here. I do not. Great. We'll just change language. Play in Italian.
Yeah, it took so long to get the translations done. We should take advantage of them.
All right, let's jump in. I think people are happy with the level of sound. I can make it quieter or louder. I'm not even listening to it right now.
Yeah. Watch whatever amount of spoilering you are comfortable with.
Yeah. All right. Let's hit play.
All right.
There's a snake.
We start with a snake.
Sorry, I'm going to talk about so many random little things. So I hope you're all happy for this director's commentary. Not that we were the directors, but this particle effect that is on the snake right now took so long add in.
It kept popping up in random places on top of puzzles.
And yeah, and when it was first introduced, it's Dormac. Welcome. But when it was first introduced, it was just like it was really loud and really big and just like appeared, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, what the heck is this thing?" Just for like a day until it was like evened out, but. It was very funny. You can see it's sort of like it looks quite nice here.
It works.
It works. Welcome. Thank you so much for subscribing. Oh yeah, Prime subscriptions are great because you've already got them. You can just give them. If none of you are Twitch people, but you are on Amazon Prime, there's a way to make that work for us. So feel free to figure it out. Thank you so much for subscribing, Nutmeg.
This snake is burned into my memory though, because it has been part of this menu for a very long time, to the point where, while skipping around, working, going between scenes, I would always end up back on this snake, and I didn't know that it was actually part of the game. At that point, I didn't know that it was ever going to be in a menu. I had no idea why I kept returning to snake screen.
Oh, well, welcome all. Thank you all for all the new Prime subs. Thank you, Sabu Takahashi. Sam. Thank you so much.
The screen that we have with the chat on it is now much smaller than it used to be, so it's a little harder to read everyone's names.
Oh, and I apologize, everybody, if you don't know that we originally started on Twitch purely so we could stream every single Nancy Drew game. So, do they call you Nancy because you Nance too many questions was our favorite quote from any Nancy Drew game, so we made it our subscription. Oh, our latest Lateral episode, we smashed it. We felt bad about how well we did.
Weirdly, we haven't played the new Nancy Drew.
As I said, we got a new computer. We've been working on the game. We haven't been streaming. We want to come back.
Thank you.
Look at all these new subs.
Yes,
thank you so much.
We've been waiting for a good time to get the new Nancy Drew and explore it with people.
Yeah, but we should definitely play it because like most Nancy Drew fans, we had played all the others, and then when Midnight in Salem came out, we were not super happy with it. Okay, let's play some games. Let's play some games.
Has there always been a skip to chapter 2 button?
Oh, that's a bit weird.
Wild.
I don't want to do that.
No, definitely not.
Constriction, a murderous way out. These names for all the scenarios got added way late. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Laurie Mother of 3. Do they call you Laurie Mother of 3 because you're Laurie Mother of 3? Too many questions. We would definitely be excited to play the new Nancy. I want it to be good. I don't know if it will be, but I haven't heard as much negativity about it compared to when Midnight came out. Yeah, all these titles, these Constriction and Murderous Way Out, that was added by Andres and Will, I think. Sat and they planned all these out and they wrote all these out. And we had no idea that was going to happen. And so one day we were just like playing and like all of our scenarios had names and it was like, oh, that's fun. So like later scenarios, like they all had like internal names that we were using to describe them that then got turned into these more kind of fun for the player, interesting little names like Constriction. We'd called this...
it's a puzzle spoiler. Technically a puzzle spoiler.
When we get there. This tutorial as well, we one day we just sort of logged in and went, oh, there's a fun little tutorial. In this game, you'll solve scenarios, etc., etc. Solve this example puzzle. Police need to gather bridge to prove that the
What happens if we get this wrong?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I've never seen it go wrong. To prove that the evidence that the death had been a car. Oh, I'm sorry,
Two of you are incorrect. Oh.
They had to gather.
Do you have to play the first game for context?
You don't have to.
Not really. Like it doesn't hurt, and it can make you feel a hint more caught up, but there's nothing essential about it.
There's such a gap. Oh, do they call you Timmelwhite? Because you're Timmelwhite. Too many questions. Welcome. Thank you so much for subscribing. But yeah, so...
Like, I would argue, less than going from a Dragon Age game to another Dragon Age game.
You can basically play this by itself and then be intrigued enough to go back and play the first one to get more context, I would say.
Yeah.
We definitely, when we were designing, had a lot of these issues of like...
familiar with...
when you're writing a scene...
World, that's fair.
In terms of what we actually ended up writing, most scenes in the base game, it was mostly... We would all come together every week to talk about like more meta story narratives and pitch ideas and talk about how things are going to go, what characters are going to do what's going. Obviously, the Clavensers, who made the first game, had their pretty strong idea of what the overall story would be from the beginning. But even then, a lot of stuff changed. And a lot of like new like as we were playing, we'd find moments to be like, hey, this character needs a beat where XYZ, so let's add a scene where that is the central focus, and we would do all that. But when it came to the actual development, generally one of the like teams of either the Clavensers, us two, Marcus and Nathan, or Will, would just get one scene and be like, this is the scene, you need to build it out, here's the meta stuff that needs to happen, but other than that, just design the whole mystery and story and puzzles and all that yourself. So these first scenarios of this whole opening chapter were all done by the Clavensers.
Couple of questions coming in. First things first, have we played Return of the Obra Dinn? We played and finished Obra Dinn about a week ago.
Yeah, actually, really recently we finally played Obra Dinn.
People have been telling us to play it for years, and we finally did. We get it. We get why people like put it in with this whole cycle of things. Totally understand it. Very unique art style.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm like
it took a second,
into it,
didn't
and then
it?
I loved it. The art for that game.
It was a bit of a challenge for me with face blindness, but you know what? You work with what you got.
Yes, that did make it hard. But I really loved it, and we started Obra Dinn, had a little bit of like, I don't get why this is a good puzzle game yet, and then there's like a moment where suddenly we went, I
understand what I'm doing.
Like what level of freedom and intrigue we have. Now I've started the game, like an hour in, and then just clonked it. It was wonderful.
And do the two games have same continuity, like recurring characters, etc. It is the same continuity.
But there's there's like a 250-year gap or 300-year gap between the two games.
Yeah.
So, like, it's all a fully new story with some thematic elements from the first one. So I don't think you need to play the first one. All right, hey, let's do the tutorial.
We still think you should, but...
we get to click on everything. Let's explore and have a look at some of the stuff here.
Oh, wow. That font has changed.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that be angry and pink.
Prom, Naple Prom.
Cool. Shoot glass strap. That's all the same.
So we look around our little room, Redwood. I had a personal moment of being like, is that how you spell straitjacket? And it is.
There were several moments of needing to use things because, we're in an alternate universe and having to look up objects and go, wait, is this a generic name or is this a brand name? And I feel like straitjacket may have been one of those ones where we had to look up and go, really? Has this always been what they've been called?
So already, actually, we can look at some of these like, I don't want to get, sure. I'm so confused. Sorry, I'm only doing this because Twitch told me to do it. There you are. So this is one of these interesting things. So obviously we changed the way in this game that words are collected. So now that when you click on an object, you get the words out of it. And that was interesting because that actually, as a decision, was when we were first designing, there was some like questions as to what that meant. And you can see throughout the game, you can almost tell like what scenes were done in what order based on how exactly the collectible stuff is used. So for example, like here we get this element, right, of these question marks, prison, asylum, hotel, right? And so in the original game, every single word had to be present and collected, which meant there was a lot of text that was there purely to give words, which I don't mind. I quite like that. And you found each word and collected each word. These instead let you get stuff that isn't specifically there. Like the idea of clicking on him and finding the word prison and with a question mark to even be like, is it a prison?
The question marks were brand new.
I never did a question mark. I still don't fully get the question mark. I never did it in any of the scenes that we'd written. But it kind of allows you to do things without needing all the words in the scene. So we started doing that a little bit, but early days, for the first scenarios that we were all designing, we were definitely doing them with an idea of
working so hard to get every specific word in somewhere and not necessarily in a super obvious place.
And we still do. Like, even going into like designing for the DLC, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, let's find that word, let's put it into a speech here or a line here or a note here, and let's get the words in the scene. So we do still, no one, I don't ever took it so far as to be like, oh, let's just click on a picture of a dog and get the words ate and breakfast. Like, no, like that's, so, but the exact specifics of that connection could be a little bit more vague.
I would be very interested to know if you can get a vibe for who created which puzzles and essentially more or less who was in charge of which individual scenario more than puzzle by puzzle. Because I have no idea if that's true, if that's possible.
Yeah. Hey, feel free if you want to pitch a guess as to who wrote each of the puzzles, each of the scenarios. We can tell you whether or not that's true. Mostly. I'm sure occasionally we'll be a little bit confused. The other thing that was interesting about this that I think has actually thrown some people mechanically is every time you collect new words, your first click, no matter where it is, will just collect the words.
Yeah.
So sometimes...
Oh, that definitely got me while playtesting.
If you've had that issue where you've clicked on something and then thought you clicked on something else and it didn't register, almost exclusively it's because your first click that looked like it was... Like if I wanted to click outside of patients to close the patients window, I would click here, but instead nothing disappears because it's me collecting the words.
Oh, this is interesting. Dormac, fair enough. It was great to see you. Don't get yourself spoiled. Did we put in any Easter eggs?
I would say not intentionally.
Not as much as other people did.
There's one little... Oh, yeah, some of the other people put in some Easter eggs. We didn't really. But...
Oh, well, no, I mean...
Did we do...
What someone you put in... Oh, was it... I can't remember if it was in this game or the DLC. A Justin McElroy reference.
There is a My Brother and Me Easter egg in this game. But actually it's not really. No, because it's a reference to something that the McElroys did during an escape room that we ran for them as a live stream.
It's about as Easter eggy as it gets, I think.
For
Max Fun Drive.
Max Fun Drive. So there is a Max Fun Drive special Easter egg. There's also an unintentional Easter egg where I think a character that I pitched, their design, was a reference to an older computer game. But I won't mention that until we get to it, if we get to it.
And the bird one in chapter 3 definitely seems like us. Birds is not us.
No,
That's
birds
fun.
is not us.
These I thought the vibes would be hard.
Yeah, birds.
A joke in a later puzzle that felt Murder Museum. I'll be very curious about what that is. Aurelius Whitlock, definitely Easter eggs.
Yeah, birds. Aviary birds was
Nathan and Marcus.
That was Nathan and Marcus. They were the Whitlock
And
crew.
they put in some cool stuff. That was a hard chapter.
Yeah, I really like that. They basically did like the entirety of chapter 3.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
It's been very funny looking at all of these. Like any of the scenes that Will did, I look at them and go, oh, your puzzles are so clever. And any of the ones that Nathan and Marcus did, I go, oh, your puzzles are so innovative. What did we do?
I think one of the things that's interesting from a design perspective is I don't think we ever really like designed with the concept of putting puzzles in. Like in our head, it was always like there is one puzzle and that is the scenario. And any other puzzles you do might just be ways to help sort of like get you to the end, but never with the serious thought of like, let's put in a puzzle. And I think sometimes like, I think Marcus and Nathan had a little bit more of like, oh, we could do a little puzzle here, which worked out really well for gameplay. I'm not sure if that's true, but it was an interesting thing. We have all these people here. We got our little...
won't go into any more details because, I don't want to name every scenario because that will start to sound like spoilers, but also not one of ours.
Yeah, no, not prison. We didn't actually work on the game.
All right.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to prison today. I reckon we'll get through this intro and then chapter...
Well, then we better start working. Let's read this tutorial. Next.
Bottom bar elements
Click
open.
on words. Click.
And now you can organize the... I didn't do this until I saw a playtester do this, and I was like, that's such a good idea to be like, I can be like, I'm pretty sure that the professor on that list was Auriel Toussaint, and you can sort of rearrange them like that.
That's
great.
nice.
I didn't do that until a playtester did, and it's fantastic.
Now, this is the thing that we kept telling people, not kept telling people, but that we kept pushing in our meetings, saying, hey, people aren't reading far enough into the tutorial to read this part, but it's going to be so important to them.
The capacity to
Use
do
the
this
space bar.
is so good. All right. Well, we know who some of these people are. This is Morg Bracker. You can tell because his thing says Morg Bracker.
Was there any debate over animating it, unlike the still image of the first one? If there was, not in our purview.
Yeah, it wasn't. The art concern there was not part of ours. I will be very excited. So for a lot of the playtests of our scenes, all the original art was done by me, terribly on an iPad.
Oh, I should get the iPad.
To just so players could see stuff. So I'm sure as we get to those scenes, we might be able to show some original art before the actual artists did it. And for people who... this is Auriel Toussaint because of his room number.
Well, this was the thing. The room numbers, I feel, initially were slightly more obscured. It still wasn't a challenging puzzle, but apparently there was enough vagueness to the word order that people weren't getting it without seeing 2-0.
Yeah.
Just like the exact angle that we were seeing wasn't clear to people.
We also wrote all the hints for this game, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a fun fact about the hints. So this is the hint system in the game. And so what I wanted to talk about was the fact that the reason it's in a little book is actually almost like a ghost element of what the original idea for the hints was. So this book was originally a self-help book written by a self-help author who talks about mysteries and business and how solving mysteries helps you succeed in business. And every single hint was written up as a fairly long-winded metaphor based on his experience as a mystery solver and businessman. It was very hard to write, but we did. You
did all of that.
We wrote a lot of them.
It was amazing.
But the word count was so big, And it was quite late in the process that because we had to then translate it all and the translations being an issue, and because some of them could come off, if you didn't read them right, there's a chance that people be like, no, just tell me. Hey, just tell me what's going on. Can you just tell me already? Don't give me all this fluff, right? Because people would get to the hints thing already kind of in a bothered mood somewhat, so you don't want to be too cheeky. So we decided against it. But we've written a whole bunch of this from the perspective of a self-help guru giving hints.
And trying to get the balance right for hints is interesting because, yeah, we figured out that it was going to be like a 3-level thing, like easy clue.
This was such an interesting thing about the Clavensers. They really don't want you to get hints. And they were like, we need something to stop people just going to the hints all the time. And so they added this breathing thing.
This is the first time I've seen the breathing thing.
Yeah,
I had no idea this was real. I saw this in the comment saying, the meditation bit for hints. Like, I love that. I had no idea what you were talking about.
So this is it. So now we've broken them up basically into these 3 things, right? What cell do the events take place? So it's just a question. And for us, generally, when we were hinting, we were drawing on our experience from Escape This Podcast, where we hint people all the time. And usually, if you just ask people questions, you're like, hey, sorry, did you say what room it was in? They'll be like, oh, no, I never did. Oh, it's in room 202. Oh, wait a minute, I have a list of rooms. Oh, of course. And the questions are nice because I think people still feel like they're solving it if you just say, like, hey, did you want to kind of look over here? It's like, tell me about this.
How didn't we put Detective Simba in anything?
Oh, I know. We should have got Simba. We've done an entire...
What a blunder.
Oh, we've done a DLC in which there could have been so many Detective Simbas and none of them
how
are there.
Embarrassing.
And then, yeah, it talks about the cell pattern, this sort of structure.
One of our characters has a name that's not dissimilar to it.
Yeah, but... In fact, actually, tell you what, I reckon I can find... People can't see this, but I can. I reckon I can find the hints.
Oh, your
as
old
we
hints?
originally wrote them. I wonder. That's not the right hints document.
Oh, God, we have so many documents.
I think it was this document. Sorry, you can't see this, but I'll find the hints.
Wait.
No, not this.
Oh, so those are just the dot points for what needs hinting.
Uh,
Pre-written hints are definitely hard to get right, especially like the different sort of difficulty levels, especially in these early ones where it's meant to be the introductory scenario. How much should you be giving away?
So let's compare the hint here. In which cell did the events take place? Originally was a good rule of business is if there's someone you think is important to know, the first thing to do is get their number. So that was our first hint. Our second hint, some cell numbers can be ruled out. There's a pattern that indicates which cell is the killer's. Very, very clean, very clear. It was, people will always judge you based on how you dress. Don't wear an orange jumpsuit unless you want people to think you're a prison inmate. Thus talking about like...
Look at what they're wearing.
Yeah, he's got a straitjacket. This must be a mental asylum. He must be a patient. Some people display their names proudly on their chest. Other times it can help to know where a person is if you want to know more about them.
Hence, Morg Braca has a name tag on, but Aurel Toussaint you'll only be able to know if you know what room you are in.
Yeah. We also had one about an extra category of hint here, which was just like, where are we? You know, branding is important. Always put your company name on your product. So make sure that when people see your product, they know what type of company you are. And it just kind of got weird. The first one was hard to hint for, but later on they get very weird and silly. So we'll hit a couple of those as we go as well.
Yeah, this was definitely a big old kill your darlings moment because it was going to be woefully inefficient, but it was lots of fun.
And
they were very Fallouty.
Yes, and it itself was a bit of a yeah, exactly right. It itself was also a bit of a reference because we were going to name him after a different self-help book that we see later in the game.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for following. Okay, so that's this scene.
How do you playtest hints?
Honestly, we didn't really playtest the hints.
We wrote them, and then further playtests happened.
Yeah, we built them based on the results of people's playtests and where they were getting stuck and what they would sort of need. But really, the hints, it's hard. It's hard to playtest because you can only ever do your best guess at what people are getting stuck on. So we had done enough playtesting to see where people needed the hints, But to then run it all again, you need an entire new batch of people.
Who have the
subset
right
of ones
level
will need
of
the
puzzle
hints.
solving that the hints will be useful to them. That's
it's
wild.
It's very hard to fully playtest unless you had thousands of people.
Yeah.
So I suppose...
That's you. You're the playtest for the hint system.
Yeah, exactly, Doa. That's why we sort of cut it, right?
It
'Cause
was also
it's great fun for people who are already in a place that they're having fun. But if you're exasperated enough to be looking for hints, you don't want someone to be cheeky with you. You want them to give you a hint.
The other fun part about designing these hints was way back in the early meetings, we were deciding what would happen in this hint system, what's going to be different about it, and starting the discussion where, so all of us writers in the meeting just saying, all right, so you know how the hint system in the first game went like this? And the two of us had to put up our hands and say, No, sorry, we didn't use any hints when we played the first game. We have no idea what the hint system was like.
What were the hints? We didn't need any. Sorry. So yeah, that was fun. It was a bit silly. All right, everybody. What do we know about this? What do we know about this scene? We know that
You put him down the bottom.
The Professor Auriel Toussaint killed Morg Bracker.
I alphabetize them immediately every time.
With a
strap
from a straight jacket in the Redwood Asylum.
And just so you know, in all of our opening notes before this scene was officially named, it was just labeled Asylum for the whole thing.
For the entirety of the development process, this was Asylum. Go to Asylum, let's play Asylum, do the Asylum scene. You have solved the scenario. Auriel Toussaint, professor of ancient Lemurian history, chewed through his straitjacket strap and suddenly strangled nurse Morg Bracker in cell 202.
And he throws a wicked punch.
I love the art of this. So for the same as you, like, if you've come to play this game after playing the first one, you would have been like a bit like, oh wow, look at this new art style. And we had the same from the beginning of like, oh wow, we're changing the art style, we're doing it like this now. But I really like it. It's really nice, and it's such a cool experience to design something, give it to someone with my terrible art, and then say, can you make this good? And then it comes back good. And you're like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Some of the interstitials.
These again were added quite near the end. And this is a sort of cover-up of, not cover, like
this is the extent of what you see from the first game.
Yeah. All right, and now we have our TV guide.
Let's do it. Oh,
congratulations on finishing your first case. Welcome to Chapter 1.
So when it said skip to Chapter 2, did it mean skip to Chapter 1, or would it have literally skipped to Chapter 2?
Probably would have gone to Chapter 1. Oh, no. It might have skipped to Chapter 2 because if you've played the demo, you would have already played Chapter 1.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's probably
That makes sense.
In which a strange threat looms over New Wells.
Yep.
These hub screens were also really fun. We talked a lot about what this would be, and Ernest sort of pitched this like.
But it was TVs pretty early.
Let's stick him in, and I was pitching like having a remote at one point that you could like change channels on a TV rather than through individual TVs. But I don't think we didn't end up with that. But we had like a big discussion about how these would look and how you go from scenario to scenario. The TV thing works really well. It's a really nice visual image. I think these hub screens are really cool.
This was a lot of fun going through these ones because we didn't do any of the design for Chapter 1. We started straight into Chapter 2. I didn't know anything about Chapter 1. You played it a lot before I did, but I came into it quite late when they were more or less done. Was the first time I played through all of these 3 scenarios that we're about to see here. And I didn't know everything about the story at that stage. I knew the vague beats, but I didn't know everything. And I played these 3. I went, oh my God, these are so good. I have so many questions. I have no idea how this connects to what we've been doing, which is insane. It terrified me a little bit. I was going, oh no, are these going to feel really discordant? Have we just done a complete tone shift?
I would say that for this project, I took the lead in design more than you in general for
like anything
for
that
Rise
we
of the
did.
Golden Idol. I think you were well. I mean, I did the grunt work of design, but I feel like you were also you were very involved.
I did I would still say I did an awful lot of the scene creation in our scenes.
Actually.
You did all of the important stuff like turning it into a game.
Yeah.
Which is very on brand for us, I feel.
Yeah, that's true. It's very funny when you've got an idea and you're like trying to make it work, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I think it's this, I think it's this. Oh, I can't make this, and I'd take it and I'd kind of go up to Danny and be like, here, I'm trying to make this happen, and Danny would just be like, we'll just do it this way, dummy. Here's the way to do it.
I would be less like, right. You should always do it this way. I was very much, I don't know if I work very well in a team, which is why I sort of sat back a little bit. Compared to some of the other stuff.
Poirot, not going out to the scene.
But I'm a grumpy Poirot. Yeah, I sit on the couch, I will write some notes and I'll say, it's got to be done this way. There's no other way to do it. And then occasionally, I can bend. I am happy to bend if things work. But then there are also a lot of things that don't work. And I'll say, no, you just wait and see. It's going to come back to being my way. I didn't have to fight for my ideas. They would just end up being there.
Academic impact, the death of a brilliant mind.
Grumpy Poirot. Yeah, in one of the ones where he's grumpier.
Yeah. So here we go. Fun scene. Good opening scene here. Again, we can just get through it. Car. See, isn't it nice not have to have a piece of paper that says, I couldn't possibly car around town. Like, oh, great, I have the word car.
Do you ever get distracted by the boat?
The one going out in the background?
Yep. Yeah. Just every time I would just catch it as it was leaving and go, oh, what was that? What did I miss?
I'm going to click on the boat. Stairs, covered ice and snow.
Lovely.
I'll show off the problem that some people have been having, I think.
Oh.
Where if I click a key, a lighter, will I get it? Yeah, okay. A pack of Brigantine Blue Blend cigarettes, and now I want to click on the pen, and so I'm like, click on the pen, and nothing happens.
Oh,
click on
see.
The pen, and nothing happens because the first click got the words out. The second click closed that thing, and now I click on the pen. And when people are going quick, they don't realize they haven't clicked on the pen because they know it's just going to say, I'm a pen.
Do you consider leaving out the brilliant mind in the title? We didn't, it wasn't our personal decision, didn't have...
But so as I was saying before, these sort of all kind of came about fairly late. And there are a few things like that. The death of a brilliant mind makes you be like, oh, it's a brilliant mind.
But I think that particularly in certain chapters... There are some puzzles where we know that people need to solve them themselves, but we don't want that to necessarily be the impression that they're left with or the thing that we want them to focus on after they've left the scene. And maybe that's the sort of thing that we're going with.
John Robkin, Thomas Crow, Caleb Reynolds. A little bit of money.
Yeah, and I was particularly worried about that with trying to figure out would the story end up being cohesive in the end because time does a couple of jumps around. And that definitely freaked me out because, time jumps are difficult to keep track of.
Oh, wait, this guy has Morse code on his tie? Oh,
that's not very good Morse code.
Dash, dot, dot, dash, dot, dot, dash, dot, 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 dash, dot, 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 dash, dot, 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 dash, dot, dot, dot. Yeah, I don't think that's going to help you. Yeah, the time jumping was really interesting, trying to see ways that we could make it clear, make it work. And I don't know, there's hints and things as well.
The interstitials did help me a lot.
I mean, yeah, literally adding in things that'll be like, let me tell you
we are now going into the past.
Yeah, so here again, we have this question marky system of what happened to him, could have done any of these things. Again, we didn't really use that in any of our scenes, but I like it. I think it's an interesting idea. It's a bit of an efficiency, right? It stops you wasting it gives you more time to solve rather than click. Now we have cigarettes.
Cool. Which do not match his cigarettes.
Yes, he has Brigantine Blue Blend. None of these. That's Sweet Pines and clammy cigarettes and lizard suckers and
Nazis?
Trotsky totes. There we go. Cigarettes. I love this guy's design. The character design is so nice in these. I don't know. Oh, what should we do? Classic thing where I've clicked on the wrong half of a conversation.
The second pack was a reference to the first game. What was it? A dragonfly or something?
Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah. Paul's music is fantastic.
Again, the fact that if you tell me to notice the music, I can notice it. But every time I'm not thinking about it and I'm into the puzzles, I can zone it out, which is exactly what you want for a game. It's so perfectly balanced. I have a dog whining at me. I cannot ignore that. I can't tune that out.
Dear Deborah, I'm saddened to hear that Brandon's exam results have been rather poor. It seems your son has taken after his father. I warned you about marrying into that family. Mummy.
The click indicators changing reminds me a lot of Professor Layton games. Like, do you remember the clicking system of the first Professor Layton game compared to other ones? Yeah, it was. But even when you need to click on a puzzle, there is no indicator in the first game when you click on something, whether it's just a thing to look at or whether it's someone's got a puzzle for you.
But
you just have to sort of keep trying at random. The later games made it a lot clearer when you were clicking on objects versus clicking for puzzles.
Arrange for a taxi to be
Have we thought about having the other writers or other people involved on ETP? Marcus and Nathan have been on ETP, right?
Marcus and Nathan have been on Escape This Podcast before, and we've been on Aurelius Whitlock before.
Rule of golden idols: if two characters are talking, you'll always click on the wrong one first.
Yeah,
100%. I do that every time as well. I've tried to make it in some scenes where that wouldn't be so, but sometimes it just has to happen.
Because this one's great because you go left to right.
Sure.
But I went right to left because I was actually looking at this, and then I went to the next thing.
Exactly. It's inevitable.
There's also that, like, we've noticed that as well in, like, an Escape This Podcast. We tell people to imagine a structure of an escape room that they're in. And then, once you're there, it takes no more effort to look at something on the other side of the room as it does to look at something next to you.
Yeah, we could click on the car and then click on the cigarette machine.
Yeah, there's no reason not to go car, okay, cigarette machine. It's just as much effort. But once you're there, it's like, well, now I'm near the car, so I'll go to the thing that's next to me. I'll go to the thing that's next to that, and I'll walk my way up. It's very common, even though that doesn't really make any actual sense. It just feels right. Of course, I'm going to go to the thing that's nearby, but you could just click anywhere, wherever.
That's it. I don't. My policy when I play through these scenes is objects first, then people. I always click on the people last.
Ah, interesting.
I feel like they're going to give me the most info, so I hold off. I want to take in the scene first. Because I'm bad at taking in the scene. I am awful at noticing little art details. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, and this scene, spoiler alert for what we're going to solve in a second, requires you to notice background art details.
Yeah, I've noticed this anytime I'm doing a playtest.
This one's quite easy. You know he's Bagman because his license plate says Bagman. You know she's Bagman because she married into that family and it's the 70s. You know that he's Cyril because she says Cyril. You know that
she's got a note on her.
She's Deborah because she has a note to Deborah. This is the classic construction of these things. And then you're like, who's this fool? Well, he says, I'm not going to criticize my own work, which makes him a Noack. So now you know he's Noack. And then he's got this symbol on all of his stuff. And that's the same symbol on the house, and the house is property of Sir Isaac. And so he's Isaac Noack. That's the speed solve for all you people wanting a walkthrough on how to solve.
One thing I got there, I just saw the word criticize, and I remember that was a thing that happened relatively early on, but that was hurtful all the same. And we were told, hey, we're going to be like based on the set, a little bit based on the setting, but mostly based on
the
audience. We are going to be going with American English for this game, and the majority of us were not American.
Oh yeah.
So it stung, but apparently it was just common feedback of people being jarred by non-American spelling when the majority of the audience is American.
Yeah, or even just, and I don't want to be mean to Americans, but I'm going to. Even just like, if you're not American, you're used to American cultural export. So if you see an American spelling, you're like, oh, okay, cool, it's American, that's fine. Whereas for so much of America, because they're such a cultural exporter rather than a cultural importer, they don't have the same kind of experience with non-American. Obviously they're not people aren't dumb. People know that there is other standards of English, but they're less comfortable with them. It's less obvious to them.
It's a lot more of a given that books in America will have been translated to American.
Or just, they don't see other TV shows because American TV is such a huge industry. They don't see other movies. So you end up with this thing where like they'll see non-American spellings and they'll go, oh, this thing is misspelt, or wait, what's going on there? Or, oh, is that a clue? Or wait, why would they do it this way? Not necessarily logically, just as their first thing, because they're not as used to it.
Is it pronounced Novak because it sounds Polish? That may have originally been true.
Yeah, probably.
We just have never said it that way.
He may well be a Novak. Isaac. But yeah, so...
And that was one of the hard parts because one of my jobs was working with Will, who is also, he's the one from the UK, we did the full language run through to make sure that things all sounded coherent, if there were any ways that we could make the language more efficient while still getting across the same meaning, making sure that just we were consistent, like did we all write our cigarette brands in the same formatting, stuff like that. And every so often just having to highlight something and go, this feels very UK. We got to ask the Americans if they're okay with this.
Yeah, I literally, for a late game change that we needed to get in
the DLC, though,
in the DLC, we were like, it's either this or this. No, it was about naming a car park, right? Because in our head, for Australian English, you park your car in a car park. If that's underground, that's a car park. If it's, attached to a house, it's a garage. But any other form of car park is car park. But then going, well, Americans say parking lot. But I'm pretty sure if it's covered or if it's in a building, that's not a parking lot. A lot has to be an open space. So what do they call it when you're parking in an underground level of a building? Is that something? And going through and trying to be like, and I was on Discord being like, who's awake and American on my friends list? I'd be like, hey, what do you call it? I want to give you a full description of what this is. Can you tell me what you would call that?
Murder park.
And they're like, oh, it's a parking garage. Yeah, parking garage, what we went for.
And yeah, isn't the game set in an equivalent of the USA? Yes, but it doesn't mean that the language got linguified the exact same way. Yeah. So would have been comfortable either way.
Yeah, right. You could say like we should use American English because it's set in an American analog. But that just means we should use it for things written in space, not necessarily narration outside of that. It's all very confusing. But we ended up in an America.
And it does, it makes the most sense overall from all perspectives.
It's just foolish and wrong.
Wait, did that say deck?
A deck?
Oh, never heard that one.
Parking deck.
Wild. Anyway, so we got the names. Let's get some of these events. So, alphabetize, please.
But Cyril Bagman was already collected together. Sometimes you don't want to alphabetize.
We had to make sure that all of this was formatted so it would accept the names in whatever order made sense, which had some interesting side effects when the characters didn't share surnames that we had to work with.
Yeah, there's a scene later on where there's swappable names, and it was a real hassle because the way it was checking. Originally, you could swap the first names and surnames and still be marked as correct. And so, why was he there? And this is my early game, like such a cool moment, which is you're looking around, you're looking at all the things you've clicked on. You go like, did he get the cigarettes? Well, he doesn't have those cigarettes. Was he hit by this car? I don't think so, because then what would have fallen here? And then you look at something that you didn't have a hotspot for, and you go, oh, what is this? Oh, why is there snow missing here? And then, oh, look, his sleeve is yellow and torn. So that's torn from his sleeve. He was up here and he fell, dislodging the snow, catching his sleeve, landing here, sliding down. So he actually fell from the bridge. And I think it's such a cool early moment that really gets you going, all right, I'm into the game. Let's do it. You can still call him Isaac Newton if you'd like.
Exactly. Not 100% US analog. No idea where these people were even born. We've got a lot. There is a lot of stuff in our shared documents about the world lore and the timeline of various events in the various countries.
Yeah.
So there is a lot going on behind the scenes.
While driving home, Deborah and Cyril suddenly noticed the dead body of Sir Isaac Novak, who had fallen from the bridge above, tearing his yellow shirt sleeve in the process. This image, I love these images. They're all really, really nice.
Trying to zone out enough to not absorb spoilers. Like, we're trying
Sorry,
our best,
stamps.
but yeah, if you are legitimately worried about spoilers and want things as blind as possible, the safest thing to do would be to stop listening to us.
And also, it doesn't, like, if you're wanting to avoid spoilers, that just affects your ability to ask us questions, not listen to our answers. Because what you can do is get the hell out of here, and then we'll save. Like, this won't just be saved on Twitch. We'll put it on our YouTube archive channel, which is linked somewhere in the about section.
You can always come back when you feel that you have seen enough to despoil.
So yeah, then you can play the whole game, come back and see all the answers. So yeah, like, feel free. I don't even know what universe Solve This Murder happens in. And definitely not the same universe as Aurelius Whitlock's Murder Museum. That's got, like, robots and stuff.
They got some crazy magic.
Oh, yes, this feeling of, look at this, a couple of things have been appeared.
We were very
I
excited.
have a question for you, people at home. Did you ever look at these and start to fill them in?
Yeah, do you start to fill them in now, or do you wait until you get everything?
Thing was revealed? Did you be like, oh, famous scientist, is that Isaac Nowak?
I think I start filling them in a little bit.
I think I don't, but that's because I obviously didn't come at this from the perspective of a player. I already sort of knew that these would happen, and I knew how much would get revealed.
I feel like these were some of the most interesting and fun ones to try to figure out what was all this text going to say, and what was going to be revealed at what points in time. Because it is interesting that this little one you can solve right away. This is just repeating what you just saw. But then this one on the top right, that's got nothing.
Yeah, who would this have been?
You don't have that yet.
You know, so this you've got, like, fund someone's tuition. That's what we just saw here. We're happy to cover Brandon's tuition fees, provided our arrangement lasts. From your side, we expect complete confidentiality about our motivation for funding Brandon. Any breach of this confidentiality will result in a swift termination of funding. Sincerely, the Rare Talent Fund. So now we know that this must be
Brandon Bagman's
tuition in exchange for confidentiality about the fact that had been affected by the what? Whoa,
we don't even have any brown words.
And that was an interesting one designing these. Like, what words do we want to give when we reveal what? So yeah, it is interesting because sometimes you just don't have the words.
But yeah, so I will say, I just want to clarify again that from my perspective, I played these 3 scenes like a normal player.
Hey, did you hear that? Did you hear that beautiful turning on of a TV sound?
Oh, what? No, I wasn't listening. Did it go?
It went.
Oh.
Like a classic
I'll have to listen for the
cathode
next
ray
one.
TV. Danny, do you want to get a nice CRT monitor?
You remember what turning on a cathode ray TV sounded
Did you
like?
ever get so close to one of them that when you turned it on, you could feel the static
Yeah.
electricity on your face? You
Yeah,
like turn
I
it
did.
on. Oh,
That didn't need to be that. That wasn't even that old. That was like the TV before my first giant flat screen.
hey, thanks so much for 100 bits. Semper Ubi Sabubi.
Oh, thank you.
Oh man, if you're so young that you didn't have a Nintendo 64 hooked up to your CRT TV, I don't even want to know you exist.
It was like, I swear, mid 2000s something. I think my Nintendo Wii was hooked up to one of those computers.
Yeah, true. All right.
Computers? TVs.
Under construction, a brutal blue-collar departure. This used to be called
Did you do
internally...
any of the writing for Case? Not for Case. We were completely uninvolved in Case, which means we can praise everything about it as much as we like.
Yes, Case was purely...
That was
like,
Clarvin's
from the writing
only.
perspective, it was Andres and Ernest Clarvin who made the whole thing. I mean, from a writing perspective, designed it all. This is the first one that we'd worked on. And for the DLC... so the first DLC has been announced at least a little bit, right? It's called Sins of New Wells, and that was alongside the Clarvins, like, because it's still their game, obviously. We were sort of the main writers of that. We
Yeah,
we
the
would
storyline is our,
come
our
up with the
idea.
story and the
Obviously,
characters and the
changed with
scenes.
teamwork and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was largely this. If we're gonna assign DLCs, the first one is our DLC.
Yeah, it's like we're the lead writers, but they're still the creative directors.
And so
like they're still
from-
changing stuff and making
Yeah.
it fit their world and fit their vision.
And from here with the other DLCs, we're doing play testing. We're helping out, coming up with ideas. We'll probably do some of the grunt work jobs for
but
them,
our
things like
main
that.
writing stuff is all done, and now we're helpless. Now we're helpless
Oh,
for
we're
everyone
so
else to write.
relaxed now.
Oh, it's great because the first DLC had such a quick turnaround in terms of how soon it needed to be done.
Yeah, that's gonna come out shockingly fast.
And we also thought we had even less time than we did. So there were moments where we thought the whole game had to be done in the next 2 days, and it turned out we had 3.5 weeks. But so we were rushing, we were busy, we were working very long. Not like video game crunch by any means.
No.
Just that for us, two lazy podcasters, we'd be like an 8-hour day. Ugh, grr, why would you make me do that? But yeah, so we did that. I'm really excited for when that first DLC comes out.
The dog is harassing me for this Yoshi toy.
Yeah. There he goes. I know, a day working a whole day. Blech. But yeah, I really like this scene. I think it has some really cool moments. I also
Great
love the
fun.
visual layout of it. And
Well, I will say the dead body, you can see it immediately. It's pretty. You can miss it.
yeah, 100%. Oh, I thought that guy was following my mouse for a second.
Oh, terrifying. Did we say Yoshi funny?
Yoshi,
Does it just sound really Australian?
what do you
or
say?
something?
Yoshi?
Oh, I didn't even think about Yoshi.
Get out of here with your
Oh
yo.
yeah, we definitely don't say that.
It's Yoshi.
But we don't say Master Roshi.
No. That's because
We got the American.
we had the dub of
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z being like, Master Roshi. Now, get you.
Oh, that's
No, we don't say Yashi, you freak. with your O's and your A's sounding the same.
Oh,
we say Yoshi.
the
with a
American O
fundamental
and
sound.
AH merge. It
Yoshi.
gets us every time.
Yoshi is not Yashi. It's Yoshi.
It's just one of these big fundamental
You don't know how to say the letter
differences.
O because you live in a country where the letter O doesn't exist. It's not our fault. It's not our fault you don't have an O. We've got an O.
Yeah, we get Australian dub Mario.
Oh, do the Mario. Do.
It does.
Yeah, it starts with an O and you don't know how to say it. So, oh, it's fine. I'm just saying.
Ah.
All right, let's say which resulted in the death of foreman Joel Gregson, an upsetting accident indeed. This is Miranda Meadows from New Wells Regional TV. Back to you in the studio.
We're working, McFly.
All right, Joel Gregson, Miranda Meadows.
Great.
See, this is why I don't alphabetize, because now we have Miranda
Oh,
Meadows
I totally
and
understand.
Joel Gregson.
In fact, why don't you open up the names puzzle and put them in right now while it's still efficient? Oh, we've only got
Miranda.
one human.
Meadows.
Great.
There we go. We got our thing. Now, my name is Bill. I can't remember if I pitched this. I think there's a chance I pitched him having a mug saying Best Bill on it. As like do in early concept tests of this. I was like, oh, you should give him a mug that just says Best Bill. But I don't know if that's true. It may have just happened without me. Either way, I need this mug.
Can someone go to the difficulty of commissioning this very difficult mug?
Hey, Eggs and Bear, I didn't dramatize it. Americans have an R sound for their general O pronunciation. This was actually really interesting. It happens sometimes where you'll see American pronunciation guides on how to say stuff.
Look in the back of the book Aragon.
Yes, in Aragon, in the pronunciation guide,
It says
G-A-H-N. Aragon. That's how you say Aragon.
That was very confusing to me as a 13-year-old.
Yeah, but it happened when, and this is the only 2 seconds. I apologize for even mentioning any kind of political stuff. It isn't political. But when Kamala Harris was first sort of being introduced onto the scene of American politics, probably when she was VP, you'd get pronunciation guides saying it's comma and la, comma la.
And that confused that got a lot of Australians saying her name wrong.
They would correctly say, no, it's not Kamala, it's Kamala. But it isn't Kamala, it is Kamala because Americans say karma. Put a comma there to mark the change of the sentence. I'm from Boston now. But they say karma and Kamala. So to get an American to make an open R sound rather than say like
it's okay
Kamala,
to use an O.
They would say we'll put an O in the pronunciation guide so Americans know that it's actually an open R, not a little Kamala.
Sarah Moya, I've missed your puns.
And so it didn't. But I remember Australian media outlets getting like Twitter corrections, like from other Australians who are confused, saying, "No, Americans say you meant to say it Kamala, so her name's Kamala Harris." It's like, no, it's not. It's not Kamala. It is Kamala. It's an R sound. They just got Americans to say R by telling them to say O. Never mind. We're moving on. Yeah, because you say karma.
Exactly.
You say karma, which is fine. It's perfectly fine that you say that. But
everyone just needs to know that this is a difference.
That you're right.
Anyway,
you know that
best Bill.
You know that Limmy clip where he's like, train, Yurang. I'm saying it right. Train. That's also true for me. We're right, you're wrong. I also saw a clip of Cole Meany talking about how the Dublin accent is the most pure pronunciation of any accent, and they're the only people who speak English correctly. Everybody thinks that we're just right, so...
Now, we of all the Bill characters, we never made any of the Bills.
No.
As far as I know, there are no Dannys in the game.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But these things did happen. Like, I would have definitely at some point like considered putting in the other people's names without even thinking about it, just because they're names. And then afterwards I would remember, oh, wait, that's your name, Nathan. Now, these are the ones that would always get me. Again, my face blindness extends to cartoon characters, apparently. They got to be really obvious for me to tell the difference. So seeing a black and white photo of someone and then needing to assign that to who is the same person but wearing a hat takes a lot more... I can do it, but it takes a lot more effort on my behalf than it does for a normal human. So things like that were big struggles for me. Oh, no, we don't do swearing on our streams, Billy.
The choice of Pell, I think it's pronounced Pell.
Yeah, eventually we got to Pell.
As a game, I think that was Will's suggestion. Maybe it was Andres' suggestion. And we loved it. We loved sticking with it as like, that's the game that everyone cares about in this universe.
4 a.m. Well done. Take your weekend to sleep.
Yeah. Feel free to sleep.
Exactly. No swearing, just murders.
Look, my vehicle's been out of order since yesterday. I requested the repair team. You can check with head office.
If you're not aware, Pell is real.
Yeah.
It's
Gaelic football?
It's essentially Gaelic football.
Or is it
so you said, is it Welsh, right? Maybe it's Welsh as well, but I assumed it was Irish.
But I might be wrong.
Don't remember. We definitely did some of our ideas for DLCs that we put forward. We're like pitching, how much can we use Pell?
Oh yeah, we wanted to do...
we have a big sports scandal?
Yeah, we wanted to do like a huge like underground gambling ring based on a Pell final and do all that and make that the focus of a DLC. We didn't end up doing that. Foreman. Fine, you and the boys can end your shift early today and watch the Pell game. But only if you'd finished dismantling the old sewage pipes in the construction pit first. These are the tasks for all this coming Monday, July the 14th. Werther should start digging out the old electric cables. Totsky must finally demolish that red garage building.
All right, so first things first. No, bring that note back. Bring that note back.
Here it is.
This one threw me for a very long time when I was playing because I didn't know what to do with it and it didn't go anywhere. It very quickly didn't go anywhere. But it mentioned the red garage building. And we have a green building here. That's just a little demountable building. But I was convinced for the longest time, number one, Totsky didn't get his work done. And number two, whoever wrote this note is red-green colorblind. And that's going to be important.
It's going to be incredibly important. No, it didn't end up mattering. I don't know why it does mention a red garage building.
I guess he got his work done.
They
needed to get their work done. And they did.
Now, here we have the beautiful man, the myth, the legend.
They'll repaint the building so we can go home early.
This is Roy Sampson. Roy Sampson, for people playing along, is not much of a character in this game, right? He's here. He's in this
No
scene.
spoilers.
He's in another scene. You said the video has not been working since July 10th. Let me know.
I think the clicking on the dead people so it can tell you they're not breathing just ended up being fun for us eventually.
True. But Samson's cool. And I played through these openings and I went, man, I love Roy Sampson.
So did I. We played them completely separately and just both fell in love with this guy.
Right? And then we found out when we mentioned to Andres and Ernest that like right after we played these, like an early version of these scenes, we were like, I love Roy. They were like, playtesters have loved Roy as well. Everybody's obsessed with Roy Sampson. And people, you can see the first DLC has been announced as a Roy Sampson adventure. And we wrote this one, so it is a Roy Sampson adventure. I double checked that this was publicly announced before I thought I'd say it here. But yeah, if you read the little description for Sins of New Wells, the first DLC, there's some Roy in there. It's a Roy-based story. Because look at him, he's great.
Exactly, Roy's the boy.
Yeah, he's just a reboot. And spoilers, he might have a new hat in the DLC, I think.
Is it different?
Yeah, they're going to redo his hat, I think. Going to have a different hat rather than this great little bucket hat.
All right, and then we're getting to the fun part.
Yeah, this guy's one of the bad guys from XCOM.
What a thin man.
Yeah, he's a bit
of a thin man.
Hey, Roy, come here quick. We've got another corpse. It's fresh, but there's something wrong with it. And now we have what is my favorite close-up, I think, of the entire game.
I am glad that I didn't click on him first. I clicked on the pipe first when I played.
You're looking around, you're like, oh, what's in the pipe?
I'm sure we have a recording of me playtesting this and clicking on that and just going, what?
It's fantastic. Look at this.
Yeah, that was really exciting. I hope I hope it was delivered to you in as exciting a way as it was.
Now, here's a
dog tag.
Okay, dog tag. The dog tag was updated. I don't know quite why it was originally like this.
I think it was like a real acronym.
I think it is a real acronym, but originally the dog tag said Luke Brown. It had a number, and then it said APOS. Which every single time, and I'm pre-warning you
in my recorded playtest.
I'm pre-warning you for the language.
I just laughed.
But it did just say, Luke Brown, a piece of shit. And I went, oh, that seems rather rude to put on his dog tags. And so we were like, let's just change it to something else. Because I don't think it should say that. The man is not breathing. These eyes are such a great,
it's horrifying. But
what's going on?
Well, I don't know, because the first time you see them...
A positive blood type. That makes sense. That's probably what it was. Yeah. We just said, please change it.
I never figured out that it was his blood type. That makes perfect sense. It's a medical tag because it says but it says like a military tag. I just went, oh yeah, I've heard of the term military dog tags. Military people just get them. The idea that it has your blood type on it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a private of staff.
Okay, so embarrassing to have not realized it until now. Now. The eyes, definitely freaky, but when it's the first time you've seen a dead body's eyes in this game so far, and because you're being introduced to this new art style, no way of knowing if it's significant or not.
Does he have eyes? He's got eyes.
I guess those are eyes.
Those are eyes. There's easy work at the old docks. Ask the locals for Hunter Wolf, Benny Crystal.
Lovely.
We clicked on everything. We clicked on everything. But yeah, anything else about this scene in general? I want to talk about, so there was a lot of debate early on with this scene about like the visual logistics of elements here, of like following the trajectories of like pipe to scratches to pipe to which way it went and how that looked and all this sort of stuff. And I remember talking a lot about it. It's been like, because originally it was like, wait, this doesn't look like it'll line up to be able to hit a person, or how's this going to work? But I remember talking about it for ages and never noticing that there are also tracks leading in here.
Tip for anyone who hasn't finished yet, it won't come up in every scene. Look for prints and tracks on the ground in every scene. It's my bane.
Oh, the construction equipment. I love this. Every time you ask Ernest to be like, you're like, Ernest, draw something, like make a thing appear. And he just does something beautiful. The idea of like, let's make them little walkers
He's
with
so
colors.
good at coming up with things like making the vehicles right for the 70s and yet also
and
alternate
also
universe.
so alternate. Even the tread being two separate tread wheels on each side. It's like Ernest's like design of objects is so lovely. It's such a beautiful little golden idol spin on stuff, and it's just really cool to see. Okay, vehicles. The one that excavates is an excavator. You can tell by its excavation tool. The one that demolishes is the demolisher, because if you can tell by its demolishing tool. And the one that cuts is the cutter. You can tell by its cutting tool. The people in them, well, Fishboy is in Fishboy's vehicles, or here's Fishboy. Then there's the fact that I just like, it's like I'm testing myself. Werther digs and Totsky demolishes, and then we see it.
So we know
we know they're Ted and Monty,
but you know that he is talking about his machine not working.
He says, my machine doesn't work, so here's the non-working machine. It's got a leg blinking, so we can put that guy in the non-working one. That's the foreman. This guy's in the demolisher, which also means he is now Totsky. Sorry, there's an angry dog. So now we can say that he must be, I'll sort of make his head, must be Monty Totsky. We know this guy's Ted. We know that the foreman was, what was the foreman's name? Joel Gregson. We saw that Roy Sampson had his name on him, so he's Roy Sampson. We saw that Ian Worth had his name on him, so he's Ian Worth. We saw that he was Luke Brown.
Yep.
We saw that this guy with... Oh, no, we don't have to name Bill.
Oh. Sorry, I can't... Really?
Oh, no, we do. No, that's Best Bill there. Sorry. How do we get their surname?
Roy Sampson says his surname, Jenkins, I believe.
Please note me down. Let me note this down, Mr. Jenkins. And where do we get...
From the duties.
For duty must be done. Oh, yeah, Werther. So he must be Ted Werther. Everything is correct. We know how to play this game. There are events. Always good to keep the names open when you have the events if you can, because you can just drag the people. Like, we can say the body of Luke Brown was found unexpectedly. This resulted in the death of the dead guy, Joel Gregson. And then who did it, and so what happened. So then you can figure out, well, what happened? They wanted to go quick. The cutting of a pipe should involve a cutter, but the cutter can't move. Its legs are broken. We have tracks that are dots, so it must have been this thing. So it must have been the demolisher on the sewage pipe, and the demolisher is Monty Totsky.
I know, right? It just goes to show you. Hey, we're getting achievements along the way because for some reason it only thinks we've played half the scenes.
It might have, yeah. I like that the names are still on the original word list. I think in the first game they did disappear. I like that they don't.
And then you had to drag them from other puzzles if you wanted.
And that's also because in the first game you would always have to have the names and the scroll open at the same time.
Yeah,
but because you don't
so
have to have that in this, we wanted to keep the words in the basis. Yeah, here you go. Look. I think this I think originally this art had this pipe much higher that was going to land on him, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense because there's a scrape here, so if that goes over it can't exist. And I think that was where I was complaining. Foreman Joel needed to remove a sewage pipe, but the vehicle cutter was out of order. The cutter vehicle rather. Not wanting to miss a Pell game, he asked Monty to use his demolisher instead. This led to Joel being crushed by the pipe. Police arrived and during the investigation found another fresh body inside the sewage pipe. We unlock another little note. You have seen his body. It would be a shame if it got out that the man who was an inspiration to the world was just another junkie, like one of those homeless deadbeats. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone, but there are those who might. I suggest you talk to the commissioner. We get a little bit more. During construction yard accident, the body of Luke Brown.
It does say what's found, which indicates we're probably talking about that and not Joel Gregson.
Yeah, it was found.
What's with the frog with Bo? That's a good question.
Do you think of that as a frog? It's a little frog. It's not a little frog. Now, one thing I'll say
I
is
just
really,
looked at that and I went, Dog Cupid. That makes sense. Yeah, we still don't have any brown
No
words.
brown. But I'd like to point
No
out something that
nouns.
people may have noticed. This was actually something that had to get introduced while we were trying to figure out how to make this work. You may have noticed that these words are little squares, right? And they're all supplied already. Originally, that wasn't necessarily the case. They were the same sorts of words as when I go into a scene, right? If I go into under construction, you can see the words here are round, not square.
I've never noticed the difference.
And the reason is they're two completely separate
Right.
types of words. Because what you could do originally is
You could hack it.
I could take like sewage, put it into the puzzle, then go to a different scene, remove sewage, and put it into the word bank of another scene. And then words were getting lost and not appearing in the correct scenes, and the whole thing was breaking. And so we had to make it so that there was an entirely different format of word, so that we can't put fake words here and we can't put square words here, and these will only accept square words. So that was a whole thing, because it was literally, you could smuggle words from scene to scene.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that the round words have a Z index issue where they bleed through the panels on top of it? No.
I don't know.
I haven't noticed that, actually.
That's too computer talk for me. I do.
Oh, man, look at that. Cutter.
Oh.
Cutter appeared for just a second.
Oh,
Cutter.
that's funny.
It's gone now.
It won't do it again.
Oh, it's if you highlight it, then click. It remains there because it's highlighted. Look at that.
Oh, that's a funny one.
What a funny little bug.
Thing is, you
As soon as I move my mouse,
out.
it's gone. Demolisher. And then, oh, wait, Demolisher. No, Demolisher. Oh. There it is, Demolisher. Until I highlight another word.
Interesting.
How fun.
I'm sure that'll get patched at some point.
Nah, we'll make it so it's always true.
The mysteries that you come up with, and you don't know what problems are gonna be problems. I don't know how people do the programming side of things.
This is why we were so
This
happy
is magic.
to be able to be hired on for a game project as writers. Now, when it was running, what we would do, our general responsibility was, right, because we would be making an entire scene ourselves. So we would write the scene, like, including do the layout of the scene, where everything is, what it all looks like, do a terrible sketch and give it to an artist of like, can you make it look like this? But like, so create the actual level design, the fundamental look of the scene, and what's a different location, or what's the same location, what's a close-up, what's not. And then we would work in Godot. This was developed on Godot as an engine. So we would work in engine, putting everything in, placing it all, setting up the hotspots, setting up the writing. Like, we basically did all of it. But obviously, the final art is not ours by any means. And all the back-end stuff of how we can interact with Godot, like the scripting for what a hotspot is, what a clickable moment, obviously that wasn't us either. So, but we would build the puzzles, we would build the scene, we'd put in what's where and build it all. And then people would come in and fix it, or they would have already done the work that makes it work. So while it was pretty intense, it wasn't like we were working for a really big company where we would just write and someone else would do everything. We had to do a bunch, but because it was already an established thing, we didn't have to do any actual real like programming or things like that. And that's so refreshing, because that's the thing that stops you from making indie games, right? You can come up with stuff, and like I'll design tabletop role-playing games. I've done that before because there's no technical understanding that I'm missing. But for game dev stuff, like bug fixing and checking that Z-axis stuff is Z-axis is not like ridiculous. But this was quite nice for
and
us.
there are definitely some programs out there now that give a bit more accessibility to people
like if
who
we
want
were
to make
making
games.
something in like RPG Maker, you know.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But
I remember doing basic stuff years and years ago in the Warcraft 3 level editor, because you could set up basic scripting connections and like if this then this in a little editor, and that I could do. But it was just nice to have a framework that we could work in, but also being able to do a bunch of stuff and really like work in it, and you know, have pushing changes on GitHub and moving things, and like that was nice. It was a fun experience. Where were we? Next scene? Oh, we read this about from Frog Wolf.
Yep.
Frog Dog. Newsflash: the sudden announcement of a sinister cult. This was called Conference for a long time when we were developing it.
Pretty basic stuff.
And this...
Oh, that's a
listen to
good
those
opening
camera
note.
clicks. And that opening note, yeah. Paul's... Working with Paul for the DLC music is really interesting because he will kind of talk about a lot, like, the structure of what he's doing for the music and, like, here's an opening thing that will fade out and then these bits will loop, but then these will come in and out throughout the game rather than repeating. Like, he wouldn't make one track because then we would hear that opening note again at some point. In a way that could be very incongruous because you want it to be a cool. So like he changes the way it loops and the way it layers and what will appear again.
He knows what he's doing.
It's a really it's really smartly put together as well as musically being interesting.
It's our boy Roy, but again, we can't click on him first because I believe he's the second half of the conversation.
What the hell, Roy? I thought you called this conference. What is old Seb blathering about up there on the podium? Are you off the case? What's a bloody demonic drug cult expert? Never heard of it.
Inspector Ianworth. And Roy says,
Oh, it's all right. Apparently the 9th District needs help, so I've been promoted to homicide lead there. Besides, if this is some drug cult thing, it's definitely out of my wheelhouse.
Now, as someone who has written a lot of a Roy Sampson-based DLC, canonically that is his voice and it's what you should be picturing every time you see the character.
Oh, I'm Roy Sampson. I hope nobody is dead in this scene.
That's how he talks. I'm so sorry. That's his voice.
I don't know why you're sorry.
Hey, look, that's just true. As, this is the canon interpretation. If there was voice acting in this game, that's how he would sound.
What's he got?
Roy, get to Sebastian's office immediately and bring these case files of yours. Possum 13, Beetle 4, Cougar 9.
He's very Columbo.
Oh, just one more thing.
Lovely.
This was hard because, like I said, I always click on people last. It's all people.
It's all
It's
people.
all people. And the one thing that's not a person that you can click on in this scene is huge.
It's people. This was our first, I remember seeing this. It was a bit bigger initially as well. It was really, it was.
It was wordier. We had to pare it down. We had to change a lot of the wording because it seemed like some of it, like the whole demon thing, came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, we definitely cut this sort of thing down a bit.
We went with worshipping with one P. It looks so wrong.
Worshipping. Is the family going to press charges against the municipality?
I am thankful for our police force, which is one of few corruption-free institutions we have. As the commissioner said, the death was a tragic accident.
Why do the police call the cause of all these homeless deaths the Red Curse? Is there really a demon-worshipping cult?
Is just shorthand. We strongly believe the deaths are linked to a demon-worshipping drug cult, and we plan to involve experts from out of state.
Are you considering any explanations other than a connection to drugs? For instance, a deliberate assassination through telepathy?
I deal with real crime, sir, not fantasy. Next question.
Where'd you come from? And your parents?
Thank you.
Where are they now? All right. So we've got some conversations here.
Dragnet, man, the references are getting harder and harder to pretend that I've seen everything. All right, to the office.
All right. Hey, those police are great. There's no corruption. Look at this buff eagle.
Makes sense to me.
It's such a buff eagle.
Yeah, it's very much US flag adjacent. But let's click on that flag.
No, let's do this first.
What?
So get rid of that dinging sound. All right.
Flag.
The Allied States of Hesperia flag.
Ash flag.
Ash flag. All right, we have a computer. Welcome to the Wisdom Interconnected Network. That says win. Please input query. Computer, let me in. Command not registered. Recognized. Oh my gosh. Sorry, everybody. Please input query.
So to me, that's an indicator of, hey, who was trying to use that computer that shouldn't have?
Yeah. Dear Mr. Walsh, congratulations on becoming Wisdom Interconnected's newest board member. Our next board meeting is in June, after which you will receive biannual remuneration. Meanwhile, please accept the latest DAC 2 computing machine as a token of our appreciation.
Was that Mr. supposed to have a dot after it?
Was that R supposed to go slightly over the yellow? I'm calling corporate. I'm telling them to fix it.
What?
All right.
Computer let me in felt like an us joke?
No,
it's not.
Not us.
You'll never find us.
You'll never. We're everywhere, and nowhere. Case name, closed. Roy Sampson, Sir Isaac Nowak, world famous scientist and philosopher, philanthropist, living relatives, Elizabeth, Adam, and Jack.
This dog is just crazy today.
Possum 13, small canal case, homeless individual, alias Dirty
Ah,
William.
Dirty
Oh,
William.
Dirty William.
There are multiple bills
There's
in
a
here.
bill everywhere. That's the second best bill. Found in container at the old docks on Stockade Street. Cause of death unknown, but clearly connected to Cougar 9.
I saw that wolf voting sticker. That was quite something.
Here we've got Luke Brown, a couple other people with weird eyes, Red Curse, Benny Crystal, friend, Hunter Wolf, work. Those were on the note that we found.
Nice.
And in the bin, a crumpled up picture with the eyes cut out and a K on the neck.
Benny
listens
Crystal
to
was
this-
mentioned in the last case.
Benny Crystal was mentioned in the
That was
last
on Luke.
case.
Luke Brown had a note saying, "Hey, if you find Hunter Wolf, if you want work," signed Benny Crystal.
Yes. Get out of here. Okay, and then we have this. Look
Which-
at this Muppet-looking man. I love him. Gecko 71,
Okay, I can't see yet. Go.
Tiger 98, Monkey 34, Beetle 4, and look what's on his neck. Everybody see this clue, this visual clue without a hotspot? That's a little backwards K, much like this backwards K. So the case must be, sorry, I can't minus that, Beetle 4. So now we can put Beetle 4 as his case number. Well, rumbly grumble. He lies on table. Well, let's see. Autopsy table ABCD. We can see that C is one of them. I'm going to sneeze. Pardon me. Unknown, connected to Cougar 9. Hemorrhage from bullet wounds. That's bullet wounds. Blunt trauma to the back of the head. Asphyxiation with a rope. Well, that's asphyxiation because
I feel like he didn't
rope around
use.
his neck.
I feel like that used to not be as clear. So, whoa, table D,
table C.
table C.
Table B. Never mind, everybody.
What you doing?
And his death is linked to the
Red curse.
because it's linked to Cougar 9, and we just saw that Cougar 9 was the case about Red Curse in the office above. So a link to Cougar 9 means it's linked to the Red Curse.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel like because of all that, you didn't need the asphyxiation as clearly, but I guess
Yeah.
they may have made it more clear just to make it a little more obvious for people.
What have we clicked on?
The
these three
scenes
people.
of the bodies, this looks different even than the early demo. Okay, cool. That's clearly where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But no, yeah, I love it. I think it's a really nice little puzzle. I think originally as well, I think in the very first version of this scene, this was the opening shot.
I think you're right.
I think in the early versions, probably not as it was probably changed by the time the demo came out, but early on, this was the opening scene. So you go straight into a morgue with 4 dead bodies. Be like, oh my gosh, you read about them, then you go outside and you see the rest of the scene.
Sorry, what was that? Why does the
Legs.
scene change?
Legs.
Yeah, it's legs.
That's
Does
legs.
it normally have more than legs?
It's legs. You use legs to get around. I mean,
Let's click on the people.
all right. Those are the 2 topics we wanted to cover today. I can offer you 5 minutes for a couple of questions now. Press
Okay,
conference
press
at 1 p.m. on December 7th.
Okay, string of bum deaths.
That's fair. So we know it's December 7th today. That helps. They expect updates on the high-profile case and a string of bum
I
deaths.
thought it was an arrow. And maybe I'm too used to Professor
Oh,
Layton
yeah.
because Professor Layton is feet.
She's great. I love her design. I appreciate you joining me, Jack.
That's not the voice I gave her.
Oh, sorry. What was your voice?
Good question.
I convinced the police to release his body today so we could start preparing for the funeral. Unfortunately, it'll have to be a closed casket ceremony. The fall has disfigured his face.
Now we should just also make clear this is the first time that some of the scenes have already been interconnected with each other.
You're right. Because we're
So this is where you start to realize that this is a thing that will be happening.
also
Yeah, the
Rare
eyebrows are pretty
Talent
distinct.
Fund,
Lovely.
Wisdom Interconnected.
Yes, these
the
are rather
computer,
familiar.
The thing in the hub. Look at all that. International Knowledge Foundation. Continue without its creator. La da 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 da. COEN.
Great.
He says, I know we haven't been close lately, but I had to come and support my cousin. Don't worry about the closed casket thing. Your father was the greatest scientist in the modern age, and I assure you his legacy will live on. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How do we figure out exactly what this is?
Exactly who he is.
Yeah. So do we... Yeah, like, I know who he is.
Well,
Where's the evidence in this scene? Obviously it's somewhere. I can't remember.
I mean, like, how much of it do you mean exclusively in this scene, or
Yeah.
based on knowing what we already know and then like dealing with
I'm just saying, where
like,
does it say
the
his
fact
name?
that it's one of Roy's cases?
Yeah, we know it's one of Roy's cases. We know, he brought 3 cases.
Yeah.
Possum, beetle, cougar. And when we go up here, we see possum, we see cougar, which means the last one must be beetle. This will be his beetle case, so that we know that the person associated with beetle, which is this guy, must be Isaac Nowak. I think that's the locked in clue, rather than a vibes based clue, the official clue. Cool. So now we know that's Isaac Nowak, and we notice that he was being released today, which means that these people talking about their Jack and whoever, and you know, your father, and etc., means they are relatives of Isaac Nowak. So we can stick a Nowak on these 2 people. We saw that she was referring to him as Jack. Did he
And
refer
she-
to her?
No, but her name is listed as daughter and her note says EN.
Yes, and she's listed as a daughter up here.
Yeah.
So we get that she is Elizabeth Nowak. They call this guy Seb because he's Sebastian. We already know.
You thought that they were going to do some some morgue swaps. Yeah,
And
definitely a thing that we could have gone with.
I don't know where it says Mr. Walsh, and this is his office.
He definitely had a hat before.
Who?
Dead Isaac. Like,
Yes,
we've
he
got
did.
both pictures of him dead. And, yeah.
Hat.
But they, for reasons you can probably assume already, deliberately obscured facial features.
During the conference, Sebastian Walsh claimed 1. Oh man, what did he claim? High-profile case, string of bum deaths.
So, as the first one, tragic accident. Second, drug
Yes,
connection.
as the commissioner said, the death was a tragic accident, the high-profile case. So that the case Beetle 4 was a tragic accident, and then the case Cougar 9 has a strong drug connection.
The wording of that was challenging to
Yeah, and I think
get
this is one
across
of the
meaning that makes
changes
sense.
that we made here to be like connection to drugs. Does it have? And we tried to use that a little bit more in these clips there. For people as well, I don't know how many people noticed this as they were solving. For most of these scenes, you only need to solve the event scroll, and if you
Yeah, they
solve
talked
this
about that a little bit
first,
earlier.
yeah, it'll just end the whole scene. And you can see somewhat why. Like, a lot of these are ways to just like lead your understanding of the situation. Like,
Yeah, if you happen to be able to understand everything that's going on, yeah, you can
You can
speed
just go
past
straight to the
these.
end.
But you can always re-enter a scene and solve them just for your sense of completion and to make sure you did fully get it and weren't getting things by accident.
now, interesting. So, New Orleans police scheduled a press conference to announce blank had been a victim of the blank. Mm-hmm. Now, Roy
Was the one who
called
called
the
this conference.
So why did he call the conference? He would have called it to talk about the high-profile case, and what did he discover? Well, if he's a good detective, he would have discovered that Isaac Nowak is connected to Cougar 9, so was a victim of the Red Curse, which is what Cougar 9 is about.
Yep.
But before the conference, something and a computer. You go, okay, well, what about a computer? Someone, something, someone, a something and a computer.
And we know who was given that. They were given the computer and becoming a board member.
And who is the head of Wisdom International? Why, it's this lady, E.N., who's the CEO of Wisdom, or Interconnected.
All right, so Elizabeth Noack gave Sebastian Walsh.
So, Elizabeth Noack
Offered
Seb Walsh
a board position
a position board, I'm French,
and a computer.
and as a result, during the conference, Sebastian Walsh instead declared that Isaac Noack,
Good to see you. Thanks for being here. If it's night, have a
yes,
good night.
have a good night, had been a victim of a tragic accident. And you can see part of this, right? Is if this is all drug connected, they don't want him to be connected to what's apparently a drug connected case. So,
Yeah, these vultures are after father's
you
reputation.
know, we must prove that the international things like that. We don't want him
Yeah,
to
closed
your father's
casket
legacy.
funeral. And it's nothing to do with the fact that his face was disfigured.
It's the
and
fact that
therefore they don't
it's
want
got
people to see his red eyes.
Tragic accident. And we solved for this too. Ties into the note from the chapter selection.
It
Exactly.
absolutely does.
I really like this interconnectedness was a goal as we were writing it and as Andres and Ernest were writing it. And
For us, the things in the
Very
hub
cool.
tended to come later, but they were always intended to be the flow makers.
The day the conference was announced, Elizabeth Noack visited Police Commissioner Sebastian Walsh and offered him a lucrative board position with one of the foundations she led. In exchange, she wanted him to hide facts about her father's death. Sebastian accepted the proposal. He swiftly promoted Roy Sampson to another position and took over the conference announcements. And now, having done all the scenes here, we get summary of evidence. Beetle 4 had the same affliction as Cougar 9, strong.
It was red curse.
Beetle 4 and Cougar 9, strain cause of death, weak. Foreign substance present, Cougar 9, 0. Beetle 4, 0. So there you go. No drugs. And then we get this lovely thing. His notes about Cougar 9. Benny's place, warehouses, the FARP warehouse, it's 45A stockyard, old warehouse, 45B stockyard, Steelside warehouse, 45C
That's been
stockyard.
mentioned.
Claims he hardly knew Luke Brown, they were not friendly. Advised contacting Hunter Wolf, who has a workshop in Steelside warehouse and offers odd jobs to people like Luke. Hunter Wolf. I'm
Now we've got it all.
going to use the bathroom while you solve this puzzle.
Oh, okay, no problem. It's pretty exciting. And I think it's separated out into these paragraphs quite neatly so it doesn't feel too overwhelming. All right, let's make sure. So, Luke Brown, afflicted by a strange condition. We now know all about red curse. This is now pretty chill. Okay, a few months later, we had this happening. After being contacted by someone, and this will be... Is it this one? Yeah, this is the pretty sus note. It would be a shame if it got out that he was just a junkie. So, after being contacted by someone, it takes me a couple of tries to get these sometimes to make sure that I put them in the right place. But I feel like Elizabeth was worried that Isaac Noack, I got Noack a couple of times in here, had been a drug user. So a few days later, blank blank offered to fund Brandon Bagman's tuition. Again, we're still going with Elizabeth Noack for these ones. Does it accept construction pit? That's a good question. They've been pretty generous. So could try it and see what happens. Let's see. For confidentiality about the fact that, again, Isaac Noack had been afflicted by the red curse. Hours before the conference, it must be, where are you? Sebastian Walsh was offered a similar deal and took it. However, the laboratory investigation found zero evidence. I should probably read it again just to, make sure. Zero evidence that it was drugs. Either red curse victim had been a drug user. So let's find out if construction pit works. Construction pit is accepted. They were pretty nice about things like that.
Instead of like sewage pipe.
Instead of sewage pipe.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to feed this dog, everybody.
What?
I don't know if you can
It's
hear him or see him. He's a freak and he wants stuff.
so early.
No, it's not. It's like
3:45.
Oh, that's 15 minutes earlier than he gets fed. Okay, I can't.
No, you can feed him.
All right.
He's being a pain. All right, let's get into story 2. So now this one is a little bit more. You just got to read a hint more into it. So shortly before his death, Isaac Noack went to meet someone at the. Was this the Steelside warehouse? It was, right?
His note is for 45C Stockyard.
Must be the Steelside warehouse then. If I wanted to make sure, I would be going back into the scene to double check them. You don't know what type of forensic test they did to find strong evidence. They had the same affliction but weak evidence that they're connected. No, strong evidence that they had the same affliction. Weak evidence that they had the same cause of death. So it was a problem. But are the red eyes what killed them? Nah, probably not, right? A few days later, someone connected to the... Someone connected to the Steelside warehouse provoked Elizabeth Noack. So this is a bit that's interesting and that you have to look a little bit harder to, because without that note with the Archer dog on it, it could have felt like Elizabeth Noack was sort of coming up with this on her own, but definitely not. Someone gave her a nudge. Into bribing Bastian Walsh, who stopped the investigation into Isaac Noack's death, and our poor boy Roy Sampson, our boy Roy, got shafted to the 9th.
Congratulations, we solved a puzzle.
All right.
Oui, I can take this gilded brass trinket for scrap metal. You can have 3 sous for it and call yourself lucky. I will put it on my shelf while a balloon goes past. And then a magical balloon. And then, oh, look at this. It is a futuristic balloon. I am long dead. But who's that? No one knows.
Nope, thought I was going to say. I did. That person, that shopkeeper,
Yep.
was he the monorail scientist from The Simpsons? You just better have a damn good conductor.
Not intentionally, but clearly, right?
All right, now we're into chapter 2.
So
Several years earlier, and here's where we'll actually have a lot more to say.
several
somehow.
years earlier. So I want to talk about chapter 2. This scene that we're about to do was done somewhat later. Not that much later, a little bit afterwards. The other 3 scenes in these were the very first scenes that were designed for the game. So this chapter, these were the first things that were made.
By us.
By us.
The Clarvinses may well have done those some of those earlier ones
I don't think they
earlier.
actually had. I think these were the first scenes that had been...
They'd done stuff.
Yes, but...
They'd definitely already been working before we came on.
Honestly, I think actually they were working on some stuff that didn't end up making it into the game.
It was just ended up being
it was cut.
backstory. I know there was definitely a lot of that.
And so, this one is... each of the 3 scenes in this one were done by a different one of these little teams, right? So Will did one, we did one, and the Aurelius Whitlock people did one as well. Specifically, they're not appearing yet, but there's a prison, there's a drive-in, and there is an auction. Will did the prison, we did the drive-in, and the Aurelius Whitlock people did the auction.
And so we were essentially told at the start, this is going to be, as it's now called, the Pursuit arc, right? That's what it ended up being called. So let's just nominate this one as the place that we're going to start with. And here's the overall premise of what's going on, of this gathering concept, which we'll get into as you see them. And so each of you is going to go home and come up with a scene where it makes sense for how this thing is gathered.
And what was interesting is, first of all, when we designed them, actually, the sort of interconnectedness was not there yet at all. And so elements of each of these changed a lot to make connectedness happen, to make certain things appear in certain ways in certain scenes. We developed them completely differently. But also, this was sort of almost like the trial period for all of us. Like, Andres and Ernest had not worked with any of us before and didn't really know how to work on this in the context of having new designers on. So they were sort of learning that process and how they wanted it to work. And we were all learning whether or not we could design this type of a scenario. But because of that, I think there was also a little bit of pressure like, hey, not in a mean way, but if this doesn't work out, maybe you won't be on for the rest of the project. And so everyone was like, oh, I got to do something really good. I got to make it really complicated and really interesting. And I got to kind of prove that I can write for Golden Idol. And so all of these scenes were almost like our post-interview. Obviously, we were getting paid. We were already kind of working on it. But like, there was a chance that after making these scenes, they might be like, no, that wasn't quite sure. They weren't even sure yet whether they were going to keep everybody on, whether they're going to keep just one group of people on. And again, not in a way that felt calculated or odd. It's just we were all very new to what this was going to be, and we weren't fully sure what it was going to look like moving forward. So we had these each designed almost like a second, I want to say audition. That's not how jobs work, but a second audition of like, let's now see whether we can make something. It was like the tester for everybody.
So they started out, and to an extent finished, but they started out all so big, so complex. They had everything stuffed into them.
Yeah, and they got cut down quite a bit. But really, we didn't have a huge amount of direction. We also, obviously we knew what we wanted, and we had help and all that sort of stuff. But like in terms of like what must happen in these scenes, it was really quite open. And we did a scene set in a drive-in because we were just thinking,
which was literally from the start, all we've been told was this was a 70s-esque setting. And it was definitely my idea for just going, I want something that definitely 100% fits this aesthetic. I don't know much about the 70s. I'm not very good at period pieces, but I want something that feels iconically this setting and not another setting. And so to me, a 70s thing, it felt like we were in peak drive-in cinema time. And so that's what I wanted to go with.
It was a lot of fun. And then so after we'd done those three scenes, Will ended up working on this extra scene, which if you played the demo, you would have also played, which is like an additional, as things started happening, this is like just an additional part of this section of story. Fun fact, and this is an incredibly minor spoiler, these all take place in roughly a similar time frame, as in, at the very least, in the 70s. The original pitch for this arc was that it took place over
decades,
even possibly multi-generations of people. Like it was like 100 years of searching.
Yeah.
And so we might have had scenes from like 1910 and 1970 and like 1880 and 1940. And like we had a whole spread of a completely different type of character, a character who no longer exists in this game at all, who was like a treasure hunting family, Indiana Jonesy, national treasury sort of character over this long drawn out time frame. That was actually the original pitch. And in my notebook, which is actually right there, which is the notebook I've been using the entire time developing this game, in this notebook, the very first page, sorry, this is old game stuff. When it gets to Golden Idol, when does Golden Idol start in this book? Yeah, here it is. Like these very first notes from like the first meetings we had on it talk about like generational, one long lifetime maybe, all this sort of stuff. So story arcs can have a meta puzzle is written down here.
Oh, what an exciting first meeting.
Yeah. So it was an interesting thing.
That was the 28th of August, 2023.
Yeah. And so I've got pages of notes of designing the drive-in scene and talking. We were talking a lot about like how to frame these framing devices to get into them. So I actually have a whole page here pitching a different.
I see some of my notes over there. I'm going to take a look and see if any of them are from drive-in.
I've got a different. I was originally pitching, instead of TVs, having a newspaper-based framing device in which you would get like a headline with a headline for what was going on, a picture like a newspaper article, and when you clicked on the pictures in the newspaper, you would go to those scenes rather than the television base. So I've got like a little drawing or a write-up of what that might look like and all this sort of stuff. So it was just so interesting that obviously these were designed first, so little of this concept was fleshed out. I've got little arrow charts of going from one place to another.
Yeah, I only have one page of that. A lot of my notes are from our next scene from our chapter 3. But yeah, I've got my drive-in notes ready for when we get to that scene.
Oh, man. That was a different concept for how I would have it laid out, and I have a little...
No, we'll get to it later. We'll get to drive-in later.
We'll do it when we talk about drive-in. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. So hopefully we can get to...
I don't even know what the scenario is called in the game anymore. I don't remember. We just called it drive-in the entire time.
Blockbuster something or other.
Cool. All right, well, let's play Retreat or whatever. What's it called now?
Garden Retreat.
Okay.
Was always called Retreat. The Zen Center Rendezvous. I know it's not how you say it. I'm not a fool.
Now, these were nice ones because we did intentionally intersperse some smaller scenes in with the huge ones, and this is one of them. And it is really nice. It's not too crazy. You play tested this so early. And again, I waited, and it's pretty.
It does look really
Look at those
lovely.
trees.
Look at the raking.
Oh, it's comfortable.
Let's just hang out in this garden retreat for a while.
But yeah, for example, let's look at the radio. We can see this is one of those occasions where we needed these words. So they were put in through a radio rather in other things.
Yeah.
The
Whereas
radio is what you thought sounded Murder Museum. Yeah, it's super interesting because this was Will.
yeah, nothing to do with
This-
Murder Museum at all.
None of the podcasters.
But yeah, here, that was bad rug, just to get the word rug. Whereas after we had sort of designed these scenarios, we would just be like, oh, just click on the rug and have it say, give me a rug. You're listening to Psychedelic Hour on this fine Friday evening.
Good to know.
Think about that for later. Oof. Wouldn't it be nice if oof was a collected word?
That'd be great.
True, Hill always was a thief, but didn't have to go that way. Before the new dawn, night must fall, I suppose. She's sad. She has a symbol on her shoulder. The woman is crying. Stolen property, asset seizure, someone's death, nervous breakdown.
Every possible reason someone might be
So
crying.
during the development of this one, this is when we started talking about can we do question mark stuff. And so Will was like, I'm doing it, and he threw them all in.
Yeah.
OPIG incorporated credit card.
Yeah, the color's beautiful.
We've got a passport that's burning. This, can you see this? We're not in the way. Hold on. You can see all the little stuff in the corner here. This is a rock with a
And there's
smashed
something
bit.
broken. There's something broken beside it.
Something broken beside it. All right. Quiet dog.
All right, let's go to the other
We're
side.
going to go this way.
All right, we see some shoes by the door.
Unclickable.
Yeah, there are definitely some scenes where there's a lot of unclickable stuff that can be vitally important. It definitely looked puddle-y. I see what you mean.
So when you say chapter 2's meta puzzle, you mean this not this one, but
Yeah.
this stuff. Yeah, it's very cool. And again, took a while. It was a long development for it.
And this was one of those where lots of little things needed to change. Will was doing the meta for this one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And just saying, okay, I want the puzzle at the end to be like this, to show the interconnected things. Can we add some things to your scene to make the interconnectedness happen?
Yeah.
And we had to think hard about that.
Hi, it's your favorite ex-husband. You'll be pleased to hear I'm finally getting sober. As part of the process, I'd like to make amends with you. For starters, I've decided to return that Lankin artifact I took in the divorce. All I ask in exchange is your forgiveness. If you're free on Friday, I could bring it then. Let me know.
I haven't seen these with the
How good is it?
animation.
It's so beautiful. I really love it.
It works.
Second message.
From OPEG's finance department, going for your financial rowing us blind. You can explain yourself. Expect a visit from me on Friday, and we'll confiscate your credit card. That has not happened. She's got her
No,
credit card.
She has her credit card, so presumably it was not confiscated.
Hey, it's me, your trusty colleague. Sorry I've been off radar. I've been keeping my head down at the Dragonfly Inn.
Is the Dragonfly in the same inn as from the first
No,
game?
that was the
Was the
Mermaid
Mermaid
Inn.
Inn? Yeah.
I'll swing by on Friday with our new pointy-eared friend. Remember, I'm gonna need Plan B rates for this one. Not like the other 7. Now that we're parting ways, I'll also need that passport we discussed.
Not like the other 7. There's definitely a word change.
Not like the other 7.
I think people must have been having trouble with that one.
Play the other 2 till September.
Cool. So only one of those people came tonight.
Yeah.
All right. We know it's a Friday,
We know it's a Friday.
and we have seen the moon.
We've seen the moon. It's Friday. It could be 10, 17, 24, 31, 3. But if we
there
look
is
at
a
the
little
moon,
moon.
which is on the left, we know that it must be whichever one it is.
17th.
The 17th.
Because the black is getting bigger.
Because the black is getting bigger. Yeah, great. The dog has filled his bed with rubbish, and now he can't lie in it because there's rubbish in it, and he's made himself very sad. This is a problem of your own creation, dog.
I gotta help
You
him.
gotta help him.
This is too
He's
sad.
so dumb. No, he's great. He's a lovely, smart dog. Just not when it comes to getting rubbish out of his own bed. All right. We've got a drawer. We've got some blue hairspray, and we've got
Oh,
beads. and
apparently
things.
that spray can has been the bane of some people.
We've got... Oh, that's new.
What? Lenses.
That's fun. Strange artifacts. 10,000 thalers. And a towel from a dragonfly inn. Isn't that interesting? City Gazette. Eccentric historians Harmony Foundation receives millions for undisclosed project. You can see that those are the beads and blue and green dye hairspray that is here. That's this outfit, and she, with her glasses, is the woman outside. Her hair's just not quite as crazy right now. And we look in here, we see bits and bobs and artifacts.
That looks like a pointy-eared friend to me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here's a pointy-eared friend. So let's do some solving. The events that took place at the, well, we just figured out this was her Harmony Foundation on August the 17th, based on the Friday and the moon, resulted in, well, broken thingy here, something smashed into a rock here. She's sad. Let's call it someone's death. And then the actual events. Corkboard. Someone visited someone. Well, because of the whole burning passport, pointy-eared friend, dragonfly inn.
We know it's
We
the
know it
colleague.
was the colleague visited the visited historian to exchange an artifact spelled like an American for money.
She is burying a body.
Yeah, so she's burying. Yeah, she's. Oh my God, she's burying the. Yeah, look, burying the body. During the meeting, well,
It's fun, the things that you can put together later.
and then
There are so many clever things that I like when playtesting. I have solved some of these mysteries without getting everything, and then usually Will has had to say, "Oh, and did you catch this part?" And I had to look again and go, "Nope, but yes, thank you. That's amazing."
what happened here? Well, you see this safe is open and things are coming out of it into here. So it looks like he tried to rob the historian. That was the colleague. In response, well, what happened? Here's a rug. Here's finger marks and green hairspray. Here's green hairspray on her fingers.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Here's a broken window.
See, I still didn't notice things.
Here's a fallen head.
Oh, there was
crack.
some green on the ground as well.
Over here. Oh yeah, on the curtain.
Yeah.
Because he got sprayed at. Curtain broke. So in response, historian sprayed colleague with hairspray.
Because yeah, apparently identifying it specifically as hairspray took people a lot.
It has a picture of hair on it.
And yeah, the shoes by the door.
Shoes by the door are his shoes.
Ooh, we got a mention of tool shed.
Oh, tool shed. There was something about the tool shed. I've already forgotten.
I already don't remember either. What's interesting about the tool shed besides?
No, say it. Because I.
Oh, something for later.
Oh, it's something for later. Oh, yes. Yeah. It's you're right. It is very cool. Yeah. No, I know what you
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm going to ruin everyone's day by muting us and then telling Danny. You ready for this?
Whisper it to me.
I've told Danny, and now none of you know, but Danny does.
I would never have been able to tell that.
All right.
Is that what that looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then pulled a rug. As a result, colleague fell and hit a rock. Look at all these. Oh my god, I just realized. How many didn't think
There
are
are
real
so
and how
many
are
little
fake?
details. No one knows them all.
The historian's colleague brought her a strange statch, but then began transferring other artifacts from her safe into his suitcase. In her attempt to stop this, the historian killed her colleague. To cover up what she had done, she buried the body and burned the fake passport she had provided for him. We got a book. Encyclopedia Mystica. Lazarus Hurst was the leader of the Puritanical Order Party.
Those red lines look so... Oh no, did we forget to turn off autocorrect?
He claimed a golden idol seized power. This is basically some backup information for people. Golden idol is the fictional artifact said to have derived from ancient Lemuria. Believers make contradictory claims about the idol's supposed function. One popular theory is that it granted eternal life. No one thinks this anymore. However, modern historians agree, not this one, that the idol never existed, and scientists have shown such a functionality is impossible.
That H and the I are a little bit off kilter from each other.
The H and the, oh, look, we get a little bit of this.
Oh, nice, a bit of corkboard. Ah, beautiful.
Probably not. The corkboard took a lot of developing. There were so many forms of this corkboard puzzle. I remember sitting with Will and like playing concept ones and pitching changes, and then he'd play it with someone else, come back with different changes, and he'd play test it and come back with a couple. It had a few different forms because it's such a cool idea, and we definitely wanted to make it work really well, but it was hard to get people to do it perfectly. But it came out really well in the end. In the end, etc.
So we're finally getting Golden
Alright.
Idol. Yeah, good. I'll be interested to get through the corkboard and again see if all of the references and things made it through to people. Because they're all over the place.
All right, we're clicking on prison.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see if we've been going
I'd
for a
like to
while.
at least get to
One that
drive
we
it.
did.
Yeah, one that we actually had.
It'd be
a
nice to
proper
finish
thing.
this chapter.
Behind bars.
So
an
maybe we'll
alarming
speed up a
incident
little.
at Stonewall Prison. Yeah, let's go a bit quicker. One thing that you can tell, and I don't mean this to be in any way rude, I just think it's fun, or it's interesting. This was one of the first, obviously this was the first scene that Will did. So this was Will's like audition scene. And one thing that we changed a lot as we went was making things less wordy.
Yes.
And this one does not, it's sort of before we were all working towards being more concise. So we get things like this.
It's pretty huge.
Of just big blocks of text. It's good text. It's just funny that like you kind of see it here, and we probably have it a bit too much in. I think drive-ins are not too wordy.
We just
but
have 800 characters.
we just have 800 characters, and so like we haven't sort of cut down to this sort of stuff yet. I'm enjoying this new job tremendously. I've been helping an inmate nurture his talent for art. We'll go through this one a little bit quicker.
Yeah. We've
cetera,
said it.
et
Let's
cetera.
say
This
read
is
it.
Percy.
Prisoner doing art.
I love this
Gun!
character design. We got the guns. Here's another guy. He's got a Pell Club badge and a gun. This is such a fun. We'll be like, all right, cells 26, 27, 28, etc., etc. Great. And then we get, hey, the cell numbers could go either way. This is silly. And so we think,
Yeah, that
oh
was
no.
brutal.
All right. So we don't actually know whether this is Pakenham Utley or Beswick and Blythe. It's going to be one of them, but we don't know what. We get this little picture of that lineup, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we don't know which way it goes.
Yep, that's just telling us there would indeed be 5 of them running across.
If we look in this cell, we see meta. This is fun meta for later. 9 p.m. Love, Lust, and the Laundromat. We see marked playing cards. We see cigars and money and booze.
So it's got a hidey hole.
In this hidey hole, we see
Sheets.
sheets. And we see this diary. While working in the laundry room, I heard that Kempton is organising another poker game. Find out how he always wins no matter what he's betting on. Could be useful as leverage. Overheard Sainsbury delivering something next door. Can he be bought too? Surely it wasn't a hacksaw, was it? It sure has sounded like it the past few nights from what I've been able to hear over that blasted soap opera.
Okay, so look back at the rooms. Who is next to Sainsbury? We don't know.
I believe, actually, we find... Well, he talks about delivering stuff to people.
Yeah.
So I believe he is Sainsbury.
Maybe.
Sainsbury delivered something
Oh,
next door.
delivering something. Okay, sorry. I thought it said delivered. I ain't reading.
Pouch of tobacco, 6 things counted up, a little... This is the most subtle clue in the game that nobody got, and it isn't actually relevant to understanding it, but Will has it in, and he was like, no, this is so important, which is this mark on the wall is an indication that someone has been using a cup as a listening device to listen into this wall, into this room. And it is so subtle, and no one notices it. But Will's very intent on having it.
Yeah.
This is on, I think, like everything. I think you can get on Xbox and PlayStation. On the Switch, I think it is now out. It had a little delay on Switch, but is out. You can get it on computer, which is what we're playing and what I would recommend, to be honest.
I don't know how people play it without a mouse.
There's a phone version.
But
the
phone would work
mouse
as well.
controls are the best, and I would play it on computer if I were you.
Use the spacebar a lot.
Use the spacebar.
All right, a barred window. That's good that that's a point because that can make you look at the other cells' windows as well.
Covered
and see if
up.
there's something interesting.
Covered up, but
some
this one's a
interesting
barred
stuff going
window.
on.
In this cell, we got a hidey hole.
All right, this is clearly the art one that Sainsbury was delivering to because it's all art. And yeah, again, back in the time when we thought everything needed a click, we couldn't have just said, this is a bunch of art supplies and then given them the words, blue places in sculpture. You could see that this was an early thing.
Awareness, end of soul, splitting space. I can hear you, naughty, naughty. My dear friend, you may not have heard about the sad news about our mutual hero, the artist Alfred Beasley, passed away 2/8/1973. Find meaning in his drawings. The key to escaping our
needing to
torment
make
lies
them
in-
these words bigger and bolder just kept having to be more exaggerated
like
as
pure-
people didn't get it.
Pure playtesting of this was not written this way, and every time someone didn't get it, the text got a little bit bigger.
If you were coming into this like with an escape room sort of mindset like we were, it was right there. But for people who weren't as used to that sort of thing, it was impossible. It's just all about your expectations.
Harmony Foundation.
Interesting.
We just saw that. Flowers for inner growth, a cup. And this cartoon fun with Alfred Beasley. Now, what's fun is we can solve this. This is its own puzzle. Talking about a message, because we see this note, which is, hey, let's talk about Alfred Beasley. Here's the date he died. Find meanings. The key to escape our torment lies in remember the date of our loved one's death. So we say to ourselves, all right, let's remember that date and put in an encoding of 2819773. Let's do that. And then we come over here, and this is Alfred Beasley's drawings. So let's find meaning in them. 2 is a purple worm, goes with a purple guy in a box. So we're going to call that inside. That's what he is in relation to this box.
This was a puzzle that went through. This was the one that had to go through a million changes for translated versions. So all of the images and things here were not at all how they started because Will likes his wordplay. And so it was a lot more wordplay-ish, but it turns out wordplay doesn't translate very well. So if you want to be universal, you gotta splice it down.
And I think the biggest one that changed here is this is a picture of a saw. And originally, I think when we wanted to get the idea of a saw, we had someone having looked at something, which was then to be taken as saw.
But the book was the bigger one.
What was the book? Oh, yes. The book now is a book spine here. So for 9, pink, book spine, we put spine because it lines up. But originally it was a person holding a human spine. But then in other languages,
Those two words aren't the same.
They're not
Like,
synonyms,
you
right?
don't call this part of a book a spine.
So a picture of a human spine would never relate to the side of a book like that. So we had to make it more literal to match, to allow it to translate in other languages where those things are not synonyms. So that's part of a thing that is a bit of a bother when you're translating.
Yeah,
8
there was definitely
orange.
one other puzzle that Marcus and Nathan made, and it was a great puzzle, but it was entirely wordplay based, and it just had to be. There was no way to make it work. It had to be cut entirely, and it was very sad. The ladder is terrifying. Absolutely.
The ladder is very much like the Are Real Monsters
It is
monster,
very much so.
which
Whole
I
thing
think is fun.
definitely gave that feeling.
Inside flower book spine equals saw. What does that mean? Well, look, here's that flower book. There's a saw inside. Maybe it's that hacksaw that this person mentioned. Matching cup that someone mentioned, I think, is important. Because look, he's got this type of cup.
Yeah.
But this guy has the same type of cup, and inside is a pouch of tobacco. Maybe if this was his cup, maybe he put tobacco in it and gave it to him.
Maybe.
Which is true.
Yeah, I don't remember needing that.
We go outside.
Oh, the translation sounded like at the end, like it was a thing that was going on at the end where they were worried the game wasn't going to come out on time because they were having such trouble.
Yeah. Translations, like everyone is doing their best, but as you're saying, it's such a complex process, and it really became the focus of development. Not for us, luckily, because that's not our purview, which was wonderful because it was really getting to be a big focus at the end in ways where you would hope you can just pass it off and be like, please translate this, but it becomes such a complex process. Hey, look, did anyone notice this as well? I'm sure people did. Look, there's that patterned cloth that we saw inside. There's that poster we saw, and
Yeah.
look, it's cut out.
Those
Those
bars
have been
aren't
cut
right.
out. So that's a fun thing you can see from the outside here without needing to zoom in on it.
Still pictures. The occupant of that cell writes in a blue pen. That's true. We did see blue pen in both situations.
Jeremy's got a honker.
Does he? Oh my gosh, he does. Now, people accuse this of being a picture of me on the cover of the game, and
Which is funny because I'm the one with
hate
the
you
big
all.
nose.
Not so tough now, eh, Utley? Your big girl's blouse, handgun, assault rifle, and also that's Jeremy. Sorry, names yes, message no. That's Jeremy. He's got a honker. All right. And he says, try calling that without a gun in your hand. Screw, see what happens. So you must be Utley, you big girl's blouse. It's nice to fill these out as you go when you play. It helps
It
keep
can
track
be.
of stuff that you know or don't know.
Watching a video about Lucas Pope getting Obradin localized and having issues with it. Yes. You were just saying that Andres was chatting with a couple of other indie game developers, and
Yeah.
they were all agreeing that it's
Translation
incredibly
it's a problem
hard.
for everybody. Talking to I can't remember his name off the top of my head, which is terrible. The Outer Wilds developer,
Oh yeah.
and he had similar issues with translation. It becomes a real big issue.
Is that why the DLC for that game doesn't use language?
Maybe the non-language DLC just get over it.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
How dare he not inform me of his plans? That idiot stuck his own grave. When I get out, I'll put him 6 feet under. He's got a double-headed coin like a Batman villain.
No.
This type of animation never appears in the rest of the game.
That is nothing like a Batman villain.
Well, like Two-Face.
Two-Face's coin is notoriously different on one side and the
But
other.
it's Two Faces, and he's one of them
Yeah.
scratched up. He's just not there yet. He's early on in his
Oh, I
career.
see.
Oh, big girl's blouse looks like you got a new nickname, eh, neighbour?
Now that's
So he
a
must be
neighbor.
Utley's-
You neighbor
Utley's
Utley.
neighbor, which makes him either people playing at home,
Pakenham or Nudity?
Mr. Blankface. So that's one to know. The dog is Clovis, the dog. I believe this dog was not originally clickable, and
That
was
made
it
everyone
Andres'
sad.
wife said, "I want to click that dog."
Everyone wants to click that
Everyone
dog.
wants to click the dog.
Can I click that dog?
This guy. Now, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean to this man or to Ernest and our art team. But this man has clearly cut off somebody else's face and is wearing it over his own face. Just one more here and that'll be me. Free as a bird. The torment's nearly over. I trust that this will help you forget what you think you heard. And as extra insurance, I have a small request. I need you to get me something from your work. We can discuss it during the next exercise hour.
Okay, so this is clearly talking about the sawing.
Yes. He's the guy who says, I heard stuff, next to the guy who escaped. he has been given a thing by someone from the room that he said he heard that we can see him listening to through the wall, and his stuff from his work may well be he works in the laundry. Here's some extra sheets. So there's a whole connection there. Lots of densely packed things to understand from that note. Here is a drain pipe.
That
and
wasn't
a
originally
blunt
in a drain.
hacksaw blade. So drain pipe right next to window. Hacksaw blade. We saw that.
The 7 years connection, yes, absolutely.
7 years.
We'll get to that.
He says.
One more year.
1 more year. Oh, sorry, 1 more year. That'll be me. Inside here, we get a bunch of people with sentences. We see someone is sentenced to 7 years. And if that's the listening guy, in his cell, there is a 6 out of 7 marked on the wall. So there's lots of little connecting tissue in this one. Sorry. Cells. Thank you. Get out of here. This guy looks like Woodhouse from Archer. Clean cuts these, just the pliers and some wire cutters should be enough to fix it. Even this tiny toolkit should have those. This guy is incredibly, he's just this guy. He's on the cover of the game. And possibly also the shadowy figure in the DLC announcement. I don't know why.
Oh. Yeah,
Henry
only
Wakefield.
1 mark per year. He nailed it. He got the dates pretty bang on.
And we see he's got a pair of pliers. There's also
There are
another
two
thing
things
missing. Thank you for following.
Ah.
And we also see this, which is window bars tied with a sheet.
And you can see it matches the pattern on the sheets.
All right. And in here we saw people with their sentences. So let's work very quickly through how we know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've done this stuff a fair bit.
I always remember whose name goes with whose.
All right. So first of all, we just found out was Henry Wakefield. We just found that was written on your thing. Meanwhile, we have these guards where
Some of the promo stuff was little bits of it were just which assets are ready at the very beginning. And prison art happened to be done relatively early.
he's apologizing to
I think
Kempton.
Clovis ends up in a lot of the art.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Kendall. Sorry, Mr. Smith told me to do this, but you're the boss, so Mr. Smith is Jeremy Smith.
You wrote Kempton.
Sorry, I just saw K. Mr. Kendall.
And he's Sainsbury.
His note is to Percy, and we know he's been delivering stuff, so he is Percy Sainsbury. Patrick
Officer Patrick.
is our commanding officer, so you must become Patrick Kendall. And now we have the guards, and we just need to do the rest of these cell people. Well, one of the easy ways to do cell people to start with is Jimmy is the guy who had 7 years, so we put Jimmy on 7 years. That is a picture of this guy, so that's Robert.
Mm-hmm.
This is a picture of this guy, so that's Jason. And this is a picture of this guy, so that's Daniel. Now, next, we know
Double-sided coin is the cheater.
that
He'll be in the marked cards
So-
cell.
he must be in this cell, which is definitely the
always the
middle
middle.
cell, but we don't have a surname for that.
Okay, so it's
But
one
this
of
guy
those.
mentions Kempton organizing another poker game. So he is Jason Kempton, and also he must be in the middle cell regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's come.
Funny.
That's so strange.
Exciting.
All right. Meanwhile, we also know.
We know 7 years is next to the second from the fire
Yes, so
extinguisher.
we know he's the 7 years guy.
Yeah.
He must be here. And now we know that Utley and this guy were neighbors.
Yeah.
If this, so on one side of this guy is Utley, well, we know that this guy isn't Utley, so Utley must be on the other side. This guy's his neighbor, so he must be down here, and our secret guy must be over here.
Nice.
Now, because of that, we can also say that Utley is here, which means the last guy must be Pakenham. So we put Pakenham here. This guy must be Jimmy Beswick because he's on the other side of Utley,
Jimmy Bezic.
and we're all happy there. Yeah, or Beswick. So these are all solved. And then we look at the events.
You only finished chapter 2, so no one tell you you're wrong. Understood. It all comes back to Clovis.
So who's left? Well, we know it must be whoever's left here is Blythe. And down here we see that the person we don't know anything about is Arthur.
Also, murder life.
Someone pointed this out and I never noticed this. Murder? Homicide? That's kind of weird. All right, so this must be...
That is funny.
Arthur Blythe, who was in prison for, well, we just saw it was murder, got out of his cell through a window using a
saw blade
that he got from, well, if you look, that note that says, here's the code, it's got, and this is the code that let us know where the saw blade was from, is from Stephen Aria. So we put down Stephen Aria. He entered the yard via a drain pipe and breached the fence using wire cutters that he was given by Percy Sainsbury. And there's, you can see in Percy's note, he mentions...
mentioned. Yep, needed to prune.
Fragility, human spirit. Yes, and I found what I needed in the prison storage room.
We get told that human spirit relates to, looks like wires.
Yeah, and so we see
Yeah.
all this sort of stuff. So he had wire cutters. And then finally, he climbed over the wall by attaching sheets, which he got from, what's his name? Jimmy Bezic. Jimmy Bezic. To the
Two people's faces obscured.
bars from his window.
What's counting identities for freedom? So yes, I believe that's how I did it the first time. Like figuring out a person where someone who is in for life wouldn't be saying, "Oh, just 1 year left."
Yep, that's also true. There's other ways to get it. Because it's true and you just leave true facts around. People can often get it in different ways. Arthur Blythe received a hacksaw blade
Yeah,
from
that's
someone
a
outside
funny
the prison
picture.
named Stephen Aria. Yeah. He used the noise from a fellow mate's television to cover the sound of him soaring through the window bars at night when the guards were understaffed. There is a reference to that as well that I skipped. Museum Top League again! Police are hunting a murderer who escaped Stonewall Prison yesterday. Arthur Blythe, who formerly worked at the Museum of Lemurian History, was serving a life sentence for fatally stabbing a colleague who had caught him stealing artifacts, which he later sold to various locations.
You will definitely be able to watch this stream later.
Yes.
We'll vote it. We'll put it in places.
Yeah, it'll sit on Twitch, but not for very long. But if you look in the About section of this Twitch page, there is a link to a YouTube archive of everything. So it'll be up there.
All right, we've got some bits and pieces.
This is Arthur Blythe, and the colleague, and Stephen Aria too. He's had himself a saw blade and escaped so he could get killed by this lady.
All right, let's do it. We're finally up to our scene.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to what was originally called Drive-In, but is now called Blockbuster Release, an immersive experience at the Drive-In. So this is the first one that we designed for this game. Yeah, it was the very first thing we ever did. When we were worried that we weren't going to get the job.
So you can see what we've got there, and you can look at my original drawing for it.
Oh yeah, hold on, let me... So that's Danny's original drawing. I had some other notes here.
It looks like I originally had people throwing stuff at the screen and setting it on fire.
We did originally. Yes, originally there was like a whole subplot of the screen catching fire because people were throwing things at it and then that ignited something that had been left near the screen and it was a whole big thing. Like the format of this
Thrown
changed quite a
cigar starts fire, causing mass panic.
bit. Yeah. What started the fire? What caused a crash? All these sorts of things. I've got a different layout as well here of people lined up
Yeah.
outside being questioned by the police and all this sort of stuff.
Our scenes did end up with fire a lot.
All right. So I really like this scene. Let's start looking at things. Oh,
I'm gonna get my notebook. I don't even think in my notebook I had this. I think this was still, I was just using random scraps of paper, but I'll get my notebook just in case.
sure.
Oh, my notebook's right next to
Oh,
you.
yeah, looks right. Which one?
Bottom one. I don't think I'll have any drive in here, but
I have so many pages of notes about driving. Oh, that was a scene that never existed. That was fun.
Yeah, lots that ended up not existing.
All right.
No, I don't have any driving in this notebook. Ah, so sad.
Let's go.
The bet puzzle.
Yeah, the bet was very nice.
Interesting.
The bet took a lot of playtesting, and a lot of times sitting with playtest being like, you read this better. Yeah, true. All right, let's go through a bunch of stuff. Here we got some people. It wasn't my fault. Someone put off me from behind while I was trying to figure out what had been thrown in my back seat. And he has a ticket stub that is number 34. You also have a 34 ticket stub, and you are basically telling everybody that your name is Beck Mason. Totally irresponsible, but no one listens to old Beck Mason. That's one of those gimme names where you can just be like, well, you're Beck Mason. A lot of characters to name in this one. Originally, we didn't name all of them, but we named almost all of them. So, like, we didn't have a puzzle to get Beck Mason's name, so she just says, hi, I'm Beck Mason. Everyone's, you can see the outfits are very, I like this straight away. Like, she's dressed weird. Oh, she's dressed the same weird. We have a car in
Check out the cars.
34. The car's good. Look at these double front wheels. This is what I'm talking about with Ernest's classic way of just, like, subtly messing with pieces of familiar technology to give them their own identity. And the double wheels at the front for all the cars is so subtle, but so, like, immediately interesting. I really like it. We got this guy. Warning, do not remove the upper lid unless the fire switch is set to off. That's weird. It's smoking. Maybe it started this fire. Here we have wire cutters and a can of blue paint. Its label reads, caution, highly flammable.
All right.
We've got a box. It's got A lemons doing regularly scheduled stuff on it, and then
Ooh.
something that isn't quite regularly scheduled.
Yeah,
Isn't
one that only happened a
interesting?
couple of days later.
How funny. We see a different coloured wire going to Proj instead of Mo Scronep light. We've got a busted lock. Maybe someone's messed with this. We've got this guy. What the hell? It was just a dumb bet. You didn't have to go that far. He was in lot 21, and he has the blank between Mike and Jenny. This is soot from fiery sort of stuff.
Yeah, they were near the fire at some
Tonight we will
point.
see blank, blank, his blank. Winner Mike, crossed out. Jenny, crossed out. That doesn't count. You still lose.
The O and the I of the ons. Yep, fair enough.
So there we go. We get this now as a puzzle. But if this is a something between Mike and Jenny, we can probably say that this guy's Mike, because he doesn't look like a Jenny. She looks like a Jenny. I didn't know that would happen. Who the hell wears something that dangerous? Besides, you said we wouldn't see it, but now we have. I win. Got a 22 stub. Miss Chen. Hopefully the costume fits and it got to you on time. So jealous you and Mr. Lendl get to see it at the Neptune. I'll have to stick to a boring normal cinema. P.S. I'm with Mr. Lendl on this one. No way Bert's going out like that. Alright, that sounds like you're Jenny. You're also Miss Chen. And you're in an argument of disagreement that someone else is with Mr. Lendl about. There we go.
An in-universe reason for a fill in the blank. It's a bit of fun.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that was quite fun. This car is labeled Mr. Vincent. And there are two people in the car. This guy. It's Champ, actually. I'm starting to regret getting involved. You barely even covered the costume. My transom costume.
Okay.
Well, his name apparently is Champ, because he says it's Champ. And he's driving the car that's Mr. Vincent, so we'll call him Champ Vincent. Which, for people who follow us on Patreon, is a very sober name. He's in number 33. He's got 75 thalers. Transom is our subtle my brother and me reference. We ran an escape room for them for their Max Fun Drive whenever we did that. Last year, year before? I can't remember.
At some point.
And Justin McElroy decided to call his character Transom for no reason. And so we wanted to put in a little Transom here as another different nonsense name. Because it's really tickled me. This guy is another, what I've decided is accidentally a reference. Because this costume is very much like the enemies from Commander Keen, if anyone plays Commander Keen. If anyone's a big fan of classic DOS games, Commander Keen, this guy looks like a Commander Keen bad guy. Move it, Chip. That's why he's saying it was Champ, actually. Fire was not part of tonight's plan. Hey, everybody. fire is not part of this guy's plan. And he says it so clearly. And every single person was like, well, fire was probably part of his plan. It was never part of his plan. This wording got very specific.
Yes,
There
were a few things that got made more and more explicit with every round of things. Like you see, the costume has been lightly tweaked.
Yep.
It went through a couple.
Yeah.
Oh, his eyes, like his right eye. No, not his human eye. It just looks like it's pulsating.
A duffel bag
Terrifying.
containing a note detailing a plan. This is one of those interesting ones where right now I'd probably give this to people, but now it just says you get it, and you don't see it until you click down here and you get the plan as a thing that you have to solve. So I would probably do that slightly differently if I was designing this right now.
You would have kept fire to off? Well, that's not very in character, though, is it?
Yeah, you keep fire on so that you can run around going...
So you can
shooting
win
fire
the
at
costume
everything.
contest.
You want to win a costume contest with your big fiery helmet. And we got these people. I love these two so much. We got popcorn everywhere. Oh my god, Laura, we can't get out. What do we do if that car explodes? Number 25. I hope we survive for an actual screening. I heard a transom and a Marini arguing over what would happen to Bertrand in this one, and now I really want to see it. We got ticket
The
stub.
most adorable queer couple ever.
I love them. They're great. They're my
Beautiful.
favourite little people. We never went inside here, where we also see... Oh, Miss Collins going to find me if I can't get this fixed. He's got his little thing again.
And
look
he's
at all
fixing stuff, so he's
Wire
probably
cuts.
a
this
lemon.
hammer. Yeah, he's a lemon, because he's the guy fixing. Look, he's got green wire, red wire. He's fixing things up. His name is probably a lemon.
No, I mean, the pirate character doesn't even make the poster, do they?
Oh, but they're implied on the poster.
Yeah.
I don't know if she really got the vibe right. So I don't think she's as big a fan. We got a blue crystal. We got a projector lens. We got a lamp. We have a thing saying, check projector power supply, confirm all internal parts are correctly mounted. If the image is too small, check the lens. If the image isn't showing, check the light. If the image is distorted, check the crystal. And don't stop.
Lemon being the guy who finds broken stuff, who fixes broken stuff.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
good.
even think that was intentional. The Neptune difference.
A good
We give our guests an
difference
escape from their mundane lives with our unique true 3D technology. Enter a world of movie magic thanks to a one-of-a-kind Neptune crystal. Wait a minute. Look at that crystal. It's red. What's up with this crystal being blue? That's a piece of...
If you happen to know someone who is playing this game and has some colorblindness issues, color is important to a couple of the puzzles.
Oh, that's true.
Like, look at Will's in the last one, the book puzzle. Those are some subtle color grade differences.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a good accessibility change for that. Like you can hide,
Yeah,
they
I'm
might
not
say
sure.
what color they are if you... Yeah,
It's a good idea.
Here we have
Ooh,
the
that was
images
a nice transition.
distorted and garbled, which means there's something wrong with the crystal. Because if the image is distorted, check crystal.
The image on the screen always, like, it's always been this creepy lip image. I don't know who decided it was going to be creepy lips. At first I thought it was placeholder,
But
but
it ended
it
up
just
being
stuck
creepy
and I
lips.
went, you know what? It's the right kind of creepy.
Yeah. And it's, I believe, her lips.
Ah.
And we just saw in
On
that,
the magazine.
in the magazine cover, the magazine
Yeah.
on in the prison scene. We saw her as an actress, so that's fun. She's look, hey, clearly the costumes that we've been seeing people in are the characters from Space Storm. Porbo joins the fight against the evil captain. New summer blockbuster flies into theaters May 1st. I think that's mostly just for getting a date in for the meta. We've got this guy. He's in a similar costume to that other guy.
His teeth are much
But
pointier.
he has pointy teeth. He's dazed and breathing heavily. He was in slot 11. This is actually reasonable because that's why he's the first one out. He was in the earliest
pretty early.
spot. And a collectible figurine of one of the characters from Space Storm. Car crash. See, we got to just take the word car crash from car crash. The side of the car has been crumpled in the crash. No one leaves. She's playing drums on a steering wheel. She's whacked her head, and she has a fresh coffee stain.
Initially, there wasn't a car crash happening. Initially, it was people complaining at a no refund desk and just getting mad and protesting.
Yeah. The car crash is a lot more interesting. Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, and initially, the entire projector was broken, and you would need to piece it back together.
Yes, I was talking about someone. We may even have a version of this puzzle coming up in a DLC, but probably not. But there's always a tiny chance because I was pitching it to one of the other DLC people. Like, you should do
Oh, yeah.
this because we really wanted the idea of creating a puzzle in this game where the projector had lots and lots of parts, and you had to solve the layout of a projector, piece it back together yourself by dragging parts of a projector into a thing, and then realizing when you finish constructing that there is a spot where something is missing, and figuring out that missing thing must have been stolen. That was my initial vision, and we never quite made it work.
Turns out things are hard.
And then we can go inside the office. Here's a Pop-O-Matic. Hey, here's the spilt coffee. Sarah, who saw what? Are you there? She must have been the Sarah on the phone. So it must be Sarah. Miss Cunningham. She must also be Sarah Cunningham. You were right. That weird lady called again. She can't seem
game
to...
not on screen. You haven't swapped back.
Sorry, everybody. Oh, I'm talking about stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry. Coffee. No. Coffee. Spilled. Sarah, who stole what? This is... Therefore, the coffee stain on the other lady must be make her Sarah. Miss Cunningham, you were right. The weird lady called again. She can't seem to get through her head that she can't just buy anything she wants. She sent her goon to make an offer in person, but I saw him to the exit, just like you said. I told him never to come back, and that no amount of money could buy what makes this place so special. He didn't seem to listen. And look, someone called Augie Tameen has been banned for life. Perhaps her goon. We have a costume competition. I'm going to go through this in a second. I want to click on the last couple things. Maintenance Andy, so we know that the A in A11 stands for Andy Levens because he's the maintenance guy. Projection booth, Andy can swap in, sick. Office, me. So whoever's in the office is also in charge of deciding who goes where. So that is Sarah Cunningham, Miss Cunningham. Rotary phone, and we looked at everything now.
Just to specify that it's rotary.
So what we do now...
It's old, right?
Is let's start naming people. So we figured out that must have been Sarah Cunningham. We figured out that must have been Andy Lemons. And we don't know anyone else yet. So let's have a look at this costume competition. First place, free tickets for a month. Doug Baxter for his dangerously authentic Bertrand. Definitely better than Parker's. Annie Kishimoto won a popcorn bonanza. And the costume really hooked me. Well, we have over here a popcorn bonanza and a person with a hook. So let's call her... where the heck is she? Over here, Annie Kishimoto. She's talking to a Laura. So we throw Laura in for the person she's talking to. We keep looking. We see... Tom Powers won a Marini figurine. Super scary, sharp teeth, and I thought I saw a better version of his character, but he didn't show up for the competition. Well, you have a figurine, which means you must be Tom Powers.
That's okay, we totally understand. Thank you for being here.
Is this a spoiler avoider or is someone
No,
sleepy?
no. Sleepy.
That's fair. And he has a figurine of Marini, so we know that you are... Where the heck does it say Marini? A to Z. Marini. Now, what else do we know? We know
First place.
that first place was Doug Baxter had a dangerous costume, and it was the same costume as Parker. Well, who do we have left? Just these two people who are in the same costume, or these two people in the same costume. But neither of these can't be Doug Baxter and someone Parker. So these must be Doug Baxter and someone Parker. He did have a dangerous costume because he must have been wearing that head that had the fire. So we know that you are
Doug Baxter.
Doug Baxter. You must be Laura Parker. And we also know that the costume, the dangerously authentic Bertrand, means that this must be a Bertrand character.
We also know that Champ Vincent said you
Champ Vincent had a
didn't pay for my
Transom
Transom costume.
so this must be Transom, which means if Porbo joins the fight, the last person must be Porbo. Now,
And as so many of our playtesters said, oh, well, that character's Porbo.
He just looks like a
just
Porbo.
is.
And then the one thing we have left is, who's this guy? Well, one thing that's going on with him is he is in here, he can't see who he is, he's costumed up, and he has in his bag a plan about disguising his identity, getting in and out. Why would he need to disguise his identity? Because he has been banned for life, because he is Augie Tameen. So we can say right now that this guy is Augie pay me.
Yeah, it was a lot of names. Initially, there weren't we didn't have everyone's names, but then missing a couple, some of the playtesters felt like it was missing to not get everyone.
And again, I think if we designed it now, we'd probably cut a couple people. But I like this. I still think we do the puzzle really well. I think it's really nice, like connecting everybody and ticking them off, and you start to latch onto the bits that you can latch onto, and then the rest just sort of fills out. So now we go back to his plan. Well, he needed to disguise his identity, so he brought that costume. Get in and out. Bring enough what? Well, he's in a car with a guy who says, hi, here I am driving, and you
even
paid
covered
me.
the cost.
So let's say he brought money to pay someone to take him in. Get the staff out of the way with a distraction. Pack what? Now, the fire, a lot of people get caught up on the fire being the distraction. But fire is not part of tonight's plan. So what did he want to do to distract? Well, what did he want to steal is the first thing. Or why was he here? You see, they were trying to buy something, the place that makes this place special. And if we look to see what makes this place special, well, we know it's their special crystal technology. We know there is something currently wrong with the crystal. So let's say he was trying to steal the crystal. Well, he needs to get whoever is in the projection booth out of the projection booth. Well, this is a maintenance guy who has replaced some wiring recently. And here, the power to the projection booth has a newly replaced wire.
Didn't even necessarily matter that he was the repair person.
No, and a damaged lock. So he must have come in here behind this bush, a late addition, to be honest, of the bush, to cut this wire
We had
with
bushes so many different places.
his wire cutters. So what he actually used to make a distraction was the wire cutter. And then they might search people's bags, so I'll hide my spoils in plain sight. Well, what are his spoils? Well, there's a crystal still there, which is odd, but it looks like there's something wrong with the crystal. The crystal's meant to be red, and also he's got a weird bit of blue paint near one of his crystal-looking teeth.
And we know that also next to the wire cutters was some
And there's some
discarded
blue
paint.
that is highly flammable. So what he did was he brought some paint to hide his spoils.
And those wire cutters may have shown up already in the previous scene.
Maybe they did. Those wire cutters are green-handled, like some of the tools we may have seen previously. So, what else do we have? Well, we know that this was a bet between Mike and Jenny, so let's fill in that it's a bet. And they were arguing.
I'm glad the tooth realization was great. That was kind of the big thing.
Oh yeah, tooth stuff was. It was really interesting to try and hit it. They say they saw Transom and Marini arguing about what would happen to Bertrand. So let's say it's an argument about Bertrand. But what are we going to see happen? Well, she says we did see it happen, right? You said we wouldn't see it, but we have, and I win. And he says you did something to make it happen.
And also, what is Doug Baxter saying?
And Doug Baxter says, someone pulled it off me from behind. And we also see part of a Bertrand costume pulled off from behind. So, she made it in real life happen what she thought was, what she bet was going to happen on the screen. So, lose his...
He had blue crystal. We kept
head.
the word blue in there very intentionally because we thought that might happen.
Yeah, it was rude. And then he says it doesn't count because it didn't happen in the film. It just happened in real life. So that was their bet. So, what were the events? Someone, owner of the something. Well, we can do that. That's going to be Sarah Cunningham, owner of
The blue herring. Thank you.
Neptune Cinema, which is where we are, had been using and this is the question, what was she using? It was a crystal, but not this blue crystal. That's a fake tooth from his tooth costume. It was a red crystal that she'd been using. Coming back to this, I kind of think to myself, we can cut all this. We don't need this confusion, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Using a red, I still think it's fun to enhance the projector.
Like I said, this was the first one we made, so we threw everything in there.
Yeah, we threw red herrings and tricks and there's always, that's completely solvable, but it is a bit sneaky. A blank, well, that was a sent blank to blanket. Well, so who was
And
sent?
it is true. Red versus blue has been historically very important for Golden Idol.
It has.
All right, a weird lady.
Sent.
Unusual to be allowed to have the phrasing weird lady as a pickable word because most of them are objective, but weird lady is objective because that's how she was
it's a
referred
quote.
to. But it looks subjective.
And this is another thing a lot of people thought sent them to steal it.
Ah,
But actually,
no.
the original thing where he was sent was not to steal it, but to say, hey, I want to make an offer in person with my goon to buy what makes this place special. So actually she sent him to buy it. But he was then banned for life from the cinema. So now he was like, all right, well, that didn't work. So I'm going to come back. So Augie Tameen arrived in costume and stole the crystal, disguising it as A, and as we can see, he had blue paint to disguise it in plain sight. It is this wobbly little guy that has been recently painted and shoved back into his costume to
And
make it seem like it
Can we
blends in.
Can we go back to the movie poster?
Yes. Oh, over here?
Yeah. Nice. Just looking at how the teeth on the poster lined up. Because like he's got some sharp teeth and some wonky teeth.
And
this
he's
guy
got
went for all sharp
and
teeth.
He's gone all,
Augie went for all blunt
wonky.
teeth.
Yeah. So he disguised it as a tooth. And that's what he did.
And now we've got to deal with the fire.
What else was going on? So that was the theft, but there's also a fire. So, in order to win a bet...
Do you know why it has a crystal from an ancient Lemurian artifact? Because the ancient Lemurian artifact got pulled to pieces and scattered to people across the world.
Yeah, so...
We did have backstories for these
there was
sorts of
backstory to
things.
this. She actually... We had a whole thing about her finding it and doing this and setting up this theatre and it happened to have this effect. So, yeah, we needed a part from the idol to appear here. And
Initially, my idea was for it to be something to do with distance transmission, because one of the ways that old drive-in cinemas could work would be they give you like a receiver that you attach to your car and then transmit the sound from the movie to your car. So that was initially what I was
that was
going
being
with.
developed in the early to mid 70s. So we kind of wanted to use that technology, but we changed it to something more
They thought
obvious.
that was a little bit too functional. I don't want to say functional, but a little
Yeah.
functional.
Whereas this is just they didn't want it to be using the idol in any way, but this is just putting light through a crystal. So we said it was a acceptable use of a piece of an idol without actually using the technology.
And yeah, relevant colors for old school 3D. Good. This is all true.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of red blue.
So it's good fun. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, you can keep going.
Yeah.
Jenny.
Jenny Chen pulled the head off
Doug
Baxter's costume. I believe this also accepts the costume off of his head.
Oh, a
Because
little
that
bit.
is also sort of true.
I mean, not really,
He pulled
but
the costume off his head. It's the head part of the costume. This started a fire, so patrons tried to escape.
hey, question about like the process of getting connected to the other collaborators and how it worked. We did talk about this at the beginning. So like the easiest thing to do to get full details of this will be once we post this VOD or while it's currently playing. Can you go back to the beginning of it?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know how Twitch
But feel
works.
free to do another quick summary.
Is to just go back to that. Quick summary was a friend told us, hey, the people who made the game Case of the Golden Idol are looking to expand their team for the sequel. If you don't know this game, you should totally look at it. It would be totally your thing. We had not played it, though we had heard of it. And we looked at it. It was totally our thing. So we just applied for it. Sort of like a standard job interview. So we did some online chatting. And then the Andres and Ernest, the people who made the first one, who were in charge of all of this, they went, great. So you guys, and gathered up all of us new writers and just said, hey, let's work.
What was
Let's get
funny
things done. And
was-
we almost like got largely individual scenes to be able to work on and then work to merge them all together.
Yeah, like a lot of like planning sessions for meta narrative and things like that. What's funny is, so we applied, and a lot of it was on the basis of our podcasting design for murder mysteries and escape rooms through podcasts. And actually, we had our interview with them, and they said, yeah, that was a lovely interview. And they said, oh, we've got another interview coming up with some other murder mystery podcasters. And we know that there's only like one other group of people doing a murder mystery style podcast that was similar to ours, because we already knew them. They were fans of our show and started a similar sort of murder mystery style thing, but with a different focus. So we actually already knew two of the other writers. We said, "Oh, are you talking about Aurelius Whitlock's Murder Museum? Are you talking about Marcus and Nathan?" Like, "Oh, yeah, we are." I was like, "Yeah, we already know them." So that was actually funny because they brought it up as just a another murder mystery podcast we're about to interview, and we already knew them. We were already friends. So that was a bit of a funny thing. And then we ended up working on this together, which has been a lot of fun.
All right, where do you think we're at now? Because it would be nice to finish.
But, oh my gosh, I'm tired.
We've been going for a while.
And we got to finish our scene at the very least. Fun fact for people who are now thinking about it, we've now seen... Oh, no, I won't, because that's giving it away a little bit. We'll probably continue this next week, same time, right?
Probably.
And just keep going through a bit more stuff and talking about behind-the-scenes things.
I think it makes
But
sense.
I think that's enough. I think we're probably done because I need to take a break. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. I had a lot of fun. I will quit this. How do I quit this? I can't quit you. Exit
There
can.
we go. And this gives you another week to speed on through to make sure that we don't catch up to you.
Yeah. I really had a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. It's nice to chat about the game and some behind-the-scenes stuff. We'll do this the same time next week. So if you have other questions, let us know. It kind of was a natural fit for our thing. Surprisingly so. So it worked out really, really well. So hopefully there'll be more projects in the future, more fun stuff like this. But it was really nice. It was a really cool experience. And we'll chat through a few more behind-the-scenes stuff.
We'll have so much to talk about for Chapter 3.
Yeah. Our big focus was Chapter 3, doing all the meta and all of the reconstruction arc. So the chapter after the one we're doing right now. So yeah, it was very fun, very interesting. All right.
Good night for those of you for whom it is night.
Good night.
Good morning for those of you for whom it is morning.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. And we'll be back next week. We'll do the same sort of thing. We'll continue through and we'll just keep going until we're done with the game, talking about behind the scenes stuff. And then maybe someone will do a nice edited down version of the video for people who care about interesting things. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.
See you
Goodbye,
next
everybody.
time.